but it's okay because it's practically 2 o'clock, and 2 o'clock we pretty much do this. You think I would be good at this by now? I guess it all depends on how you look at it, I'm definitely entertaining, right? You'll give me that much? I'm entertaining? All right, well, that's good. Hi, everybody. I'm Body. I am. Hi, I'm back in the day, maybe. No. I am Bada Boomer. I'm getting my groove on, is what it is. It's distracting me. Welcome to the gaming workshop. You are in the right place. Don't let me scare you off. Oh my goodness. We're not doing the body paint episode today. That's not today. That's coming up another day. Man, I hope everybody's doing well. This is the gaming workshop. It's where we talk about gaming. We kind of focus on DayZ Underground, which is a server for the game DayZ. I don't remember the name of the game, man. I'm like talking about DayZ Underground all the time. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming. Today, we are going to go back to basics a little bit. We're going to go back and talk about roleplay and PvP and KOS and rating and all this. I had somebody ask me about orienteering today and learning how to get around. So we'll talk about that some today too. And pretty much anything you want to talk about. You can just type it into the chat. See, like that, chat. You can just type it in there. Or you're welcome again to hop into the Discord and join the waiting room. We'll move you up into live and take your call, so to speak. To talk like a boomer. That's right. Everybody talks about this like it's a podcast. I call it a show because I'm Bada Boomer. Anyway, welcome everybody. All right, so we'll stow that for now. All right, guys. So what we do, like I said, this is about DayZ. DayZ is an open world sandbox role. It's a game, open world sandbox game. Basically, there's no NPCs. There's no there are monsters. I guess they're infected or zombies, as we call them, Zeds and all kinds of other things. And originally, okay, if you don't know, DayZ was a mod created for this other game, Arma 2 or 3. Somebody can correct me because I didn't play back then. And so it was basically a mod that took off. Oh no, they added zombies to the game, that kind of thing. And it got so popular that it's now its own standalone game, DayZ standalone or vanilla or whatever. And there aren't, it's basically started out as a combat PvP game. The thing of it is that they, I guess inadvertently maybe, put together some tools and the community came together. They allowed people to mod the servers and all this stuff over time. And eventually, people were really able to put together a significant addition to the role-playing community, okay, which is, again, not what DayZ was originally about. Well, I'm an old school role player. A lot of you are, some of you are, have never role played before and all of this stuff. So, we have Doug, which is DayZ Underground, DayZUnderground.com, which is a server that we play on. And we call ourselves a role-playing server. More specifically, we are an organic role-play server, okay? And we're going to go and explain a little bit about what this means, just for people who aren't real familiar with roleplay, okay? But roleplay is basically, it's kind of a little bit of acting. It's a little bit of imagination play. It's like when you were a kid and you were playing cops and robbers or whatever, you were role-playing. Somebody was role-playing the cops, somebody was role-playing the robbers, and on you go, maybe if you were playing doctor, one of you, never mind, that's a whole different thing. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just using your imagination to pretend like you're somebody else and, live a fantasy life for a short time. Sorry. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I know you guys are watching from work, but even if you are at home, still. So, you're basically acting like somebody else, okay? Now, we have this unique position here on Doug where we get to take people with all these different play styles, people who like to play act and role play, and people who like to PvP, and then people who like to do all of these things together and every little bit in between. Doug welcomes everybody who, any play style that you want to bring, as long as it's fair and it follows the rules and, that sort of thing. I mean, hackers obviously not allowed. That's a play style that is prohibited here. You're not allowed to hack the server. Things like that, but let's be within reason. Um, so when we're role playing, a lot of times it's just like every other type of play style. There are various degrees that people get into it. There's also different approaches. Now this is all going to come around because we're going to envelop all the play styles here in just a second. But like for instance, I'll create a background like for my character. I'll put a little thought into it. I'll decide, kind of what the starting point for my character is going to be, and I build up his life from birth up until then. I mean, not in very great detail, but just some idea. So I know what drives my character, why he's doing the things that he does. And then I throw him into the world and let the world interact with him and change and shape him or her or whatever, my character. And they will evolve, based on the things that happen in our world, kind of like in real life. There are other people that will just prefer to play variations of themselves. There are people who, and we don't really encourage this necessarily, but people who will try to make story up along with the things that they do. Like, they'll raid somebody and then they'll be like, oh, well, we had this reason for it. Honestly, I think that's at least something, right? Because at least you're trying to put an in-game reason to the idea. Ideally, though, when you're role playing, you want to have a reason first, because that's the motivation. It's not like, you wake up in the morning and you just do something and you're like, oh, well, I just felt like it. Yeah, people do that, but it doesn't get you very far. You know what I mean? So we try to think about those things. Okay. Now there are PvPers, of course, it's player versus player. It's people who just like to fight other people. Again, there are various degrees of PvP. There are people that love just squad based tactics, and that's just like all they do. There are people who will love to just go and hunt other players, and snipe them out. There are people who will role play all the time, and then of course throw down in some PvP when it's necessary, which is really the ideal. That's kind of what we go for when we talk about role playing and PvP and KOS and all that. Even KOS, yes, because I'm going to get to that in a second. I know I'm kind of running through this a little quick, but I mean, we've talked about all this stuff before. I'm kind of speaking for the benefit of, more of the new players that are coming in. Plus, let's face it, it's been like 4 months that we've been doing these. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to refresh a few concepts, right? All right. So there are different degrees of PvPers, right? And I've very, very briefly mentioned how we can blend role-playing and PvP. If our goal is not to only PvP, or if our goal is not to only roleplay, right? Then there's opportunity to blend these two things together. And in my opinion, and the opinion of a lot of the veterans, people who have been around Doug 6-7 years now, is that when you utilize like both play styles, you're really taking in everything that this server has to offer. If you're only focusing on one, obviously you're missing out on something else. But it's really the blend and the combination of these things that make Doug special and unique, and make it exciting to play on. Which again brings in the KOS. Now, for those who don't know, KOS means killing on sight. Okay, now here's the thing. Because, I'm not a big fan of what I'm going to call random KOS. Okay, now this is the thing, right? We need to have, this is an apocalyptic scenario. I don't think anybody is naive enough anymore to think that, the world's going to fall apart and everybody's just going to get along and help each other and everything's just going to be fine, right? Because we can't even do that now. I mean, there will be some more of that, coming together. But by and large, there's still going to be people who are out for themselves or just, don't even care about you, whatever it is, right? They're just going to come and try to kill you because they can. Okay. We need this in DayZ, right? Because, sometimes the infected are tough. They just bolstered them up artificially, so they're a little tougher now, right? But it's still, you're not telling a story with, a mindless NPC, right? You're telling stories with other players, So we have to have that tension, and if there's no threat from the other person, right? Like you're just a player and they have to be like, oh, excuse me, I'm going to attack you now. And you have to be like, okay, cool. There's no real tension. There's nothing to really, get excited over or anything. I mean, it's a horror game, and you're talking to somebody who grew up in love with horror films, right? So I love that adrenaline rush, even though the main character that I play is not combat oriented, and even though it irks me, man, like, you know, obviously it gets under my skin when I'm just sitting there like farming or doing some basic task, you know, obviously not combat ready or even thinking about combat, and then I just fall over, you are dead. You know, that's, it takes you know, some of the steam out, some of the fun out, right, for me. But it's allowed because what you do is you learn to avoid situations like that. You know, it's like, oh, well, instead of putting my farm plot in the middle of an open field, maybe I'll try to put it where I've got some walls. You know what I mean? It's like you learn to think and adapt and to play a little better. And you know, like I said, if I didn't have that tension, that something like that could happen, then I would just be calm and relaxed all the time. And I mean, that's not an apocalypse. That's not, and keep in mind that Doug is also a hardcore server. Hardcore is the entire environment. It's not just, you know, whether or not you can find a knife or whether or not you can find any food or whether or not, you know, somebody's like killing people going over to the well. I mean, it's all of these things together. You know, I mean, you never know. I mean, you might survive, have a really great run, survive like 3 hours, get into and think like, man, got me a box of nails. Maybe I'll start building and then bam, you know, you are dead. Well, maybe next time don't stand out in the open talking to yourself, man. Don't alt tab, don't whatever it is, you know, that you did. You know, and then even sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. I mean, that's the way real life works, isn't it? Sometimes you could be like the best driver in the world and still have some drunk idiot come out of nowhere and kill you. I know this is just a game, but guess what? That's when you get to wake up on the coast. That's what makes it, you know, that's the game part. I'm telling you, man. Excuse me. Oh, I mean, I did it last night. Oh my gosh, it's aggravating. It like gets me too, because it's like now that there's a queue, it's like, you know, when there's no queue, it's no big deal. I find a nice spot, you know, I'll log out for a minute and come back, log back in. But when there's a queue, you can't do that. So it like heightens, you know, the level of like anxiousness the whole time, because now you can't even go AFK for a second. You know, you got to run to the restroom or something. You're like figuring it out, you know. Oh, I don't know. It's a big cluster of trees there. Maybe I can go lay down. But yeah, you know, stuff happens, man. It sucks. Never died alt tabbing in a field, man. That's funny. You know, I don't know how it worked with Jari, but I know I've seen people make fun of Jari for alt tabbing standing up in the middle of a field. I do lay down most of the time, at least, just in case somebody happens by. I do try to lay down at least. I won't just stand there. Although, you know, whatever. Things happen. I've had people make fun of me in stream for it before, but anyway. So, again, with, I know exactly where I was too. Check this. I have no notes, man. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, y'all. This is great. Shooting from the hip. Okay. So here we go. I was talking about that there are different levels in roleplay, different types of PvP and all that. Well, there are different types of KOS too, if you can believe it. I mean, there really is. Now here, this is something that was a reminder to me, right? Because I saw somebody post a video of a KOS. They're like, oh, look, here, I KOS somebody. And I was like, wow, that kind of sucks, you know, because they weren't doing anything, right? But the thing is that I didn't consider the context. Now, here's the thing, is that a lot of times there is context, right? But some of us, you know, a little more hardcore people are kind of a little bit like, well, you know, we're quick to go, well, why'd you just kill this guy? You know, we don't consider the context. And I've actually talked about it before, right? Because I mean, KOS can be roleplay, you know, it's just that simple. You know, I mean, you know, somebody could just want your stuff. They could be an ultra survivalist. They could see, you know, this guy's like, you know, encroaching in my territory. And if I kill him, he's not going to be able to tell anybody else, and I'm going to get his stuff. I mean, that's role play right there. Why would they even bother talking to you if that's the case? You know, if that's how they're going to treat you. So, you know, being killed on sight does make sense. And what seems random to you may not have been random to them. And that's their story that they're telling. And that's their role play opportunity. And that's the give and take that we have here on Doug. That's how we combine all these play styles together, is by accepting, you know, and respecting the other people's play. There you go. I'm gonna have to clip all that, man. That's like, that was encapsulated it pretty well, I think. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, like down in Cherno for a while, we had, I mean, what people were calling Brazilian death squads, right? Hey, look, it was a pack of Brazilian players who would come in and all they want to do is gear up and walk through towns and just kill people. And, you know, you get kind of irritated, right? Because you're trying, and they weren't doing anything else, by the way. They weren't building. They weren't like, you know, tearing things down. They were just walking around killing people. And it was easy to get upset about it because it's like, you know, especially because we were all solo players down in Cherno. So it's not like we could, you know, muster a big defense. Whether or not they ever knew that, who knows, you know? But, you know, it's easy to get upset about it, thinking about, oh, well, these guys are just here to play DayZ. They're not playing Doug. You know, they're just here to kill people, whatever. But then I thought about it. And I know I like to say, I hate to bring up popular media, right? But it's just true, okay? You look at The Walking Dead. If you haven't been watching it, I'm sorry. You just keep up. I'm not going to drop any huge spoilers. But if you think about, like, there was a time when the main characters ended up in a town. And then shortly after, some guys hopped the fence, came in and just started killing everybody. No rhyme, no reason. They just did. That's just what they did. That was who they became in the apocalypse. So to think that it's unrealistic or crazy or just, you know, whatever, you can think it sucks. Be my guest, all right? Because sometimes it does. But then again, you know, losing or, you know, having a setback or whatever usually does suck. That's kind of the point of the setback, you know. It's supposed to suck. So, you know, there's precedent for these kinds of things anyway. So you might as well roll with it. And it's funny because you don't even know. You don't know why these people hopped in and just started killing everybody. Maybe you find out, maybe you don't. I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to spoil everything. But I'm just saying, you know, that there are reasons for it. You don't have to always know it, but there can be. And even if there's not, for a good role player, it's up to them to decide, well, you know, they probably had a reason for it. Just give them the benefit of the doubt, man. I mean, why not? I mean, unless, you know, they're coming around going, hey, this is a kick-ass server. I'm going to mow you down, you know, then it's obvious, you know, but I've yet to encounter that, you know, but, you know, at that point, I think the entire server would probably come pound on them. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. When you got a young kid and you have to walk away. Oh my God. I mean, I get that way just from having my wife, because if I'm down here playing and I'm just playing, my wife calls me, I go up there, you know, it's like, oh my God, man, because I don't want to log out. And it's like, you know, especially if I'm in the middle of a scene or something, you know, I'm like, man, I'm afraid somebody's going to take it the wrong way or, you know, whatever. I mean, you never know. You can get reported combat logging, you know what I mean? Most people, though, I mean, look, most people, because keep in mind, we're talking about playing on the server. Most people are cool. You know, most people understand. Most people, you know, understand. Now, I mean, if you're in the middle of a firefight, you can't be like, hey, time out, guys, time out. Time out. My wife's calling me. No, that doesn't fly. But, I mean, if you're just role-playing or whatever, even if it's a tense situation, maybe not when you're getting robbed. I don't know how it'd work. I've never had to do that, you know, so I don't know. I'd be like, fine, let me tie you up. I'll just take your stuff. You go AFK. I don't know. It's hilarious. I used to get times when I would be sprinting to an open field. Sticky keys. Oh my gosh, man. Sticky keys is the worst. Anybody who doesn't know, it's a Windows feature. I don't even know why it's a feature. Like I don't even know how it's supposed to be used properly. But if you hold down shift long enough, it'll trigger sticky keys. And then it's like your whole keyboard gets all screwy. For games especially, it sucks. Somebody will clue me in on what sticky keys is supposed to be. The way I've always found it has been by accident, and it's always screwed up my gaming, and so I've never cared. I just hated it. So I just completely went negative on sticky keys. I don't even care. Oh my goodness. So that's pretty much that's most of my spiel right there on the server and how it's played, the different types of ways that we play. I know it's not like that great. Excuse me. It is in depth at least. I mean, there are definitions and whatnot. You know, what would be really cool one time, we can even do this today if anybody wants to talk about their characters, because we've got so many ways that different people play. Like we were talking about, or I mentioned how I pretty much came up with the Reverend Alessandro. I talked about that before, where I basically had a question. I looked at it from a writer's perspective, and a lot of writers will start with a premise or a question, that they want to have answered through their writing. And I did that with Alessandro, because I was curious, I was wondering how religion would hold up in an apocalyptic situation, especially Christianity in the Bible, right? But Christianity in the Bible, it can be a taboo issue in games when we're, playing with a lot of diverse people, diverse backgrounds and beliefs and whatnot. So, by the way, in case anybody's ever wondered, that's why I don't call it any of that. I don't use any of the proper names except the Lord. It's the only name I really use in game, but I do like to wave the Bible around because it's a cool prop and it actually looks cool. But anyway, so that was the idea, right? And so I went through this effort, created a background, put him in, and started playing with him. And that's how I roll. Now, like I said, sometimes people will just play themselves and they'll just be like, oh, I just woke up, and then they just kind of make it up as they go along. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's other people like we talked to, why can't I think of his name all of a sudden? Deathbringer. We talked to Deathbringer TTV a couple of weeks ago, and he does permadeath roleplay where he plays a character until they die and then he makes a new character. And, it's funny watching his chat because sometimes people will hop in after having watched him stream before and then taking a break and come back and they're like, hey, where's this character? And he's like, oh man, they died like, 4 characters ago, and it's like, oh, that was interesting. It's kind of, that's another way of doing it, which is just interesting. And for him, like every experience is organic because he's not planning really any of it out. He'll just, there are times he'll ask questions. He'll act like it's, whose line is it anyway? And, let chat fill in the blanks and then he rolls with that, and that's super fun. There's, a lot of ways to do it. That's why I guess the point is that there's no set way to tell a story. It's just that we encourage you highly to tell a story. That's, pretty much why most of us are here on the server. Yes, rest in peace, Jeremiah. I missed it. I missed how he died. I'm going to have to go back and check out the VOD. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it for me, chat. No, it's all good. Either way. But yeah, he was a risk taker. He was a risk taker. That's all I know. Wrong place. Man, isn't that how it usually works? That's why I'd have a hard time permadeathing my character just on a random death, But it's cool to watch other people who can. This is part of why I love playing here on DayZ Underground, because you get people who contribute and do things in ways that you may have never thought of before, and you get to experience these different play styles and techniques, and it's really amazing to me, and the amount of effort that people put into their characters, And that's why I like playing the character I do, because my character has, he's the main character in his own story. And he's got a main plot that, I expect to come to an end. And I'm going to talk about storytelling here in just a second, actually. And then, I like him being a supplemental character to other people's plots, being a reverend, and offering counseling and getting around and meeting lots of different people that not everybody can get around and meet, put him in positions where he can be very useful to other people telling their stories. And I find that that's just as fulfilling, if not more so, than hitting, landmarks in my own story. It's really fun, man. And for me, that's where a lot of the organic comes out. Now, yeah, I'm going to try not to bounce around too much, but we talked about roleplay. We didn't talk much about organic roleplay. Let me go into that. Now, this is something that's also different for different people. But as a whole, okay, it really means that you're role-playing in such a way where you can kind of just roll with the punches. Is really what organic roleplay means, to me anyway. It is really that. It's just like you're role-playing, but, and like for me, for instance, I can have a set idea, right, of who my character is when he starts. But then when I say I throw him out into the world, that's the organic part of the roleplay for me. Because I don't necessarily, like when I created the character, I did not have a set middle or end. I only had a set beginning. And I did it that way because, again, I wanted, I didn't want to be disappointed when plans that I had wouldn't work out, right? And I wanted to be flexible and I wanted to integrate myself. I wasn't trying to come in and take over the world. I wanted to become a part of the world, So I think that's probably why I got organic roleplay so well in the beginning, is because that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to become a part of everything, not dominate it. And so, I just opened myself up to other people's personalities and their characters, and just kind of, let the world mold and shape my character. Now, that's not to say that I don't have ideas, right? Especially as my character moves along. I mean, 7 months played now, almost 2,000 hours, most of it on this guy, almost all of it on Doug. I know it's not a lot to some of you guys, but I've got a pretty good idea of how his story is going to end, because eventually it will. And I'm kind of trying to nudge things and kind of put things in place just a little bit. And, to me, that's still organic. It's just that I'm, kind of setting a stage, and then I'm going to let it play out however it does. And to me, that's still, like I said, that's still organic and it's still storytelling. Some people don't like to discuss anything at all. Some people like it all to just be completely spontaneous. And to them, that's organic. And to me, that's fair. I mean, come on, it's like, because we're all here for the same purpose of enjoying the game together. But it's interesting because, yeah, Deathbringer made me think of organic, because I mean, he really has such an excellent example of what organic roleplay can be, because of the permadeath thing and the spontaneousness of his characters. But then again, you watch a lot of other people, and you'll see that they have their set characters they're not going to permadeath unless they decide to, and they just roll with everything else that comes with them, and they change and adapt their characters, and that's organic, it's and then a lot of us, it's funny because we'll say things like, life happens so too fast in Doug for us to create content for, whether you're writing or doing videos or whatever else. And that could be absolutely true. That's why some of us just, we'll stream it, and hope that somebody watches it and follows along. But it's just like, man, things happen so fast, and it's because it's organic, It's not like every Wednesday on whitelist day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's like, man, I don't know. So many people don't watch wrestling, but the way they would do it on wrestling is they would have a big pay-per-view event. And then all the rest of the time, they're having all these little TV shows that kind of help build up their story. That's all leading to this big event. I don't play it that way. You know what I'm saying? That's still too scripted even for me. But I like to set up things. And even then with my writing, when I actually go to write, then I'll actually try to plan it out a little bit, because, there's usually like a point or a plot or something that I'm trying to convey. So it might seem a little less organic then, but keep in mind that my character never would have gotten to that point in the first place without all the randomness that happened to him. And, it's the randomness that happens after the turning point or whatever it is that I might want to happen. That's all organic, so again, it just depends. It depends on, there's no right way, I guess, really, to organically roleplay. But trying to force the way that you organically roleplay, or try to force the way you roleplay onto other people, or even trying to force roleplay on other people, just like trying to force PvP, isn't fair, And I know I'm a proponent of the phrase. I say it a lot, and I used to say it a lot more, that it's unfortunate because I can't force you to roleplay, but you can force me to PvP. And I'm saying that on a roleplay server, when you would think that would kind of make it out to be a PvP server. But again, it goes all the way back to how you think about it, Because, like, for instance, the guy KOSing you is forcing you to PvP, right? I mean, sort of. I mean, you're not actually getting to fight back, but, or somebody that comes up to you and just starts attacking you, whatever. They're forcing that PvP on you. But at the same time, I can still force roleplay on them, not by stopping them and making them talk, but by turning the situation around for myself and being like, oh, well, adding it into my story, or having it influence my story, or just assuming that they have a plot, in a way forces them to roleplay, at least to me. And it makes me feel better because, guys, let's face it, that's what real life is most of the time. is justifying things to ourselves and trying to find, if you're good at it, you'll try to find the bright side of everything, and then it'll make you a happier person overall. And that's the way I prefer to play. So it shouldn't be any surprise that this is the way I would look at it. You know, I'll try to, and now I get frustrated. Everybody knows I get frustrated. I'm human. I'm perfect. I'm perfect. I'm imperfect. That's the proof right there. I just proved it. But you know, for the most part, man, it's all about being positive. Because once we get mad, once we get negative, you know, it snowballs, man. And then you're not having fun. People who interact with you are not having fun, and nobody has any fun. And the person that it hurts more than anyone else, that's right, you. Gator Rage. So lead, the only thing I would advise you of is be careful when planning, because when things don't go with your plans, you miss out. That's right. That's exactly right. And that's why it's part of rolling with the punches. I mean, there were a couple of ideas that I pitched here recently that people were like kind of on the fence about. And I didn't push it, right? And well, you don't know. I'm telling you, I'm right. I didn't push it. And you know what happened was it ended up just going off into a completely different direction, which I found far more rich than what I had in mind. Because see, keep in mind, you know, a lot of people have at least a direction. You know, they have some idea, right, of what they want their character to be doing. And you know, and a lot of times these ideas that we have conflict. And sometimes, and this is true of real life, this is why I love to have discussions with people. Because sometimes somebody will come at you in a way that was unexpected, that you weren't expecting, and you find out, oh, it blows your mind, man. And you're like, man, this is fantastic. It happens like all the time when I'm playing Doug. You guys will see me every once in a while. I know a lot of people will come in late at night on the Discord and be like, well, it's dank roleplay. Yeah, oh man, we had a great time, whatever. I rarely ever do that. And in like I've done it like at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And it's like, I mean, I rarely do that. Like it doesn't, I'm not that, you know, I mean, look, man, I love my time here, and I have a blast, like most of the time that I play, almost every time I interact with somebody. I mean, it's a fantastic time, but you know, my bar is set pretty high. Like I expect to have a good time. That's why I do this. You know what I mean? So it's like a super exceptional, you know, night where I'm just like, mine's like blown away. You know, I'll come in and say something, and it happens. It happens a lot. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Dr. Desync, man, in the past, we've had people who set up what were basically plot points. Right. Yeah. And you got upset when they didn't work out and how they planned. Right. Usually end up boiling over into OOC because that side that planned everything expected nothing to change or alter the course of the story. See, that's why I love the word organic. I mean, I do. I feel like, you know, it's not even, I don't know of a better, I can't think of a better term that fits that concept, which is why I wanted to bring it up today. Because, you know, I don't want anybody to have the wrong idea even about me, but I certainly don't want to promote the wrong idea, you know, because we are telling stories. But keep in mind that a lot of the stories that we're telling are being told after the fact. You know, like I said, we might plan something and throw ourselves out there, but, you know, most of us aren't writing the stories until after things happen, which again is why I say, you know, events transpire faster than I can create content for. Because if I was doing it beforehand, it would be easy. I would just be writing whenever I felt like it, you know. And I understand you're not necessarily talking about me, and that's unfortunate. This is why we need to, you know, promote the organic nature of it, and that it's rolling with the punches. It's being able to no matter how many plans you set up. I mean, you got to figure that it's all a card house. You know, you're just stacking up cards, and sooner or later it's gonna knock over. I like to look at it as like a kind of an outline of where I would like things to go, and then just kind of push it in that direction. I mean, there are things story-wise, like right now I would talk about if I had published the stories already, but I haven't, and I don't want to give any spoilers. But let's say for instance, like that I was like, oh, you know, I really wanted to, I'm really getting hypothetical here. Say, I really wanted to find this object. I really wanted to find an object, and that was like The whole point of my characters exist. That's the only reason why I'm going to play today is because I'm going to go out and find this object, right? And then I go out and it's like I know, like if I go out to these places at these times, it's almost always there, right? And then I go and it's not there, and then I got to be all pissed off, right? Because man, I'm not be able to find my object. I'm not be able to do the thing that I wanted to do. But then maybe I found instead like a similar object or an object that turns out to work completely different. You know, and then it's like, wow, you know, it's like, well, fine. I open myself up and I grab this object. And it's like, oh my gosh, now I can do all these other things that I never thought of before because I was so single-mindedly focused on this one object. That's the benefit of playing the way that we do. And when I say we, I mean, I'm talking about the spirit of the server, you know, being able to roll with the punches, man, that's great. Man, you know, I don't know. That's why I'm saying it's like organic, you know, like it's a great word once you really understand how we're applying it. But man, it's hard to think of another word that really fits it. A 206 guy, man, thanks for showing up, by the way, man. It's good to see you. We've been seeing you in Discord a lot lately, and you're really interested in the server. I'm glad to see you, man. Been alive 1.5 weeks, haven't shot or killed anyone. Good for you, man. That's, you know, doesn't get easy. Met a handful of nice people. Got held up and robbed by a group of 8. Got shot at. Got in a military base. Been having fun working on my story. Right, I learned so much in the week that I played Doug. My original idea story was morphed so much already. I'm telling you, you're just excited to see how his story goes. Man, I'm really happy to hear that, dude. I'm glad that you're having a good experience. A lot of people don't get that, as Dr. Desync says. They'll come with and it's not even just their story, if you think about it. It's a preconceived notion of how to play, like what role play is. You'll find a lot of people are disappointed when they find out that we have KOS, you know. And to me, it was never a question of that, because, you know, it's like I expected the world to be dangerous. I expected people to be dangerous. You know, when I started playing, I've described my first times a few times. It's fun. I really wish I could go back to that. But the very first time I ever spawned in, man, I was crouch walking, like I was running. I'd run, sprint, crouch. I would peek around corners. I would move. I was trying not to see anyone because I was scared of what would happen. I was trying to, like, you know, all right, oh my gosh, okay, I'm hungry. Oh, and I'm thirsty. Oh my God, I got to find water. You know, and it was like, and I wasn't like real DayZ experienced either. So I kind of got to learn DayZ as I learned Doug, you know, but it was still those moments of like gripping, like of tension. And it was very tense, man. And it was like, I mean, I'll never get those moments back. It's like the first time you do anything, but it was just fantastic. I mean, I was so grateful to have been able to experience it that way. And that's all organic. I mean, but my first character idea was kind of based on me, not literally, but in a way. And then yeah, it just kind of morphed when I met different people, and, you know, I died a few times and I learned the game a little bit better. And then I started to wonder about, you know, because I learned the lore, some of the lore, because you have to, you know, you don't get to learn about it a lot when you're not whitelisted, because a lot of it's gated. I can explain all that in a little while too. But, you know, so I was in game talking to people and I was learning different things, and it just really opened up my perspective. And then that's when I started to work on a specific character, and, you know, but again, everybody does it different, man. It's great. That Kate saying there's so many stories popping up on Reddit this past week. It's overwhelming. It is too. And, you know, I mean, I'm working on one. I know at least 3 other people that are working on stories that haven't been posted yet. And it's like, I don't know why. Sometimes for me, it's like I'll start writing and it all just flood out. And then sometimes it's like, you know, like I got to squeeze every little drop out of the orange. Right now, I'm kind of squeezing the fruit. You know what I'm saying? Probably not my best analogy, but it's a family-ish show. We'll keep it there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but I finally played last night. I haven't played in a while either, because I've been dedicating all my time to out of character stuff. Now I get with you guys' comments here, man. Hope Ray writes stories about how. Yeah, well, I hope so, because St. Joe's has gone through some transformations as I'm learning, which is pretty interesting. And all of it's stuff I'm learning in game. That 206 guy, I need to check out the Reddit. I mean, dude, I'm telling you, I use Reddit a little bit. Let me look at me, dude. I'm a 47. And I used to be the computer savvy guy, like in the 90s. Nobody used computers but me. Now it's like I'm so behind, and I'll just play the boomer card. I don't care. Somebody will explain it to me. But Reddit is really for Doug is really important. That's the reason to get whitelisted. People. We'll talk about that for a minute. I don't care. People think it's because you get to play on the special days. Yeah, all right. Look, the population's a little lighter. Honestly, that's not by intention. I don't want the population to be lighter. There are a lot of reasons why it is. We won't get into that now. We talked about it a few times ago. We'll talk about it again some other time. But the main reason why you want to get whitelisted is so you have access to all the stories and the lore and everything from way back too. I mean, you can go back and really, really experience it. And I'll tell you the reason why we gate it, and nobody has corrected me on this, and this is definitely the reason why I like it gated. The reason why we gate it behind the whitelist is because before you're whitelisted, you could just be some random person, right? And we have pretty strict, we have strict metagaming rules. So we separate in character versus out of character. People with long histories here can be banned for mixing metagaming. I mean, it just happens. There's nobody's been here long enough. You know what I'm saying, to be safe from it. So, and that's basically using information that you've gleaned out of character as an in-character way. It's super easy for somebody to go and read something, and even somebody who's whitelisted, somebody who's practiced at this can do it. But you go and you read something, and then you forget where you heard it, and you might just bring it up, or it might slip out in your role play and that sort of thing. There are people who would take that information and deliberately disseminate it in character. And the people who are receiving the information don't necessarily know where it came from, some players may question it and not use it. Most won't, most won't think about it. You know what I mean? So that's why it's gated behind the whitelist, because it's just a little layer of protection to try to keep, our interactions genuine in game. Once something gets out as being in character and gets around, it's kind of out of the bag then at that point, and damage is done. It's not like you can, all right, everybody, forget that you heard this. That just doesn't happen, so. I feel like that's really it. Let's see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Well, I'm going to scroll back up too, actually. So we'll get to some of that stuff here in a minute. Yeah, all the writing got me back into writing stories. Took me half a year to write something. Man, I'm telling you right now, Want to Be Medic. That was fantastic, because it really did the same for me. I mentioned before, I've been writing since I was like 14, but never really followed through and never really did anything. And really, most of the writing that I've done has been for games and characters and whatnot. So I had not written. I had started writing a novel years ago, just like so many other people, and got about a quarter of the way into it, and then it just kind of real life got on me, and then I just petered out and played games and wasted time and other things instead. So now that I'm back in this content creating mode, and I've been telling stories, I started writing and posting it to Reddit, and now I'm doing it semi-regularly, and I'm really grateful for it as well, because it's nice to have my words back, a little bit. It probably makes hosting a show like this easier too, but I'm thinking about trying to do it a little more seriously again. As you guys will notice on my exit screen, I've omitted one of my former streaming days. I'm taking it down to 3, and one of those days I'm going to use for other things like writing or doing creating videos, like how-to videos for Doug and things like that. So that's one of the things that it's done. It's inspired me as well. I'm so happy to hear that. And you're not the only person I've heard that from. There's quite a few people who have been inspired to create content in ways they hadn't before, or to go back, and kind of rebuild these skills that they've let languish. Because we all do that. A lot of the stuff is hobbies for us, and we think, oh, this would be a great career, and you start doing it, and then it's just like life sidetracks you, or you get blocked, or, just any other number of reasons. And Doug is like really great for that, because the community is very encouraging, and you'll have people that will just pat you on the back and tell you it's fantastic. Yeah. There are people that will encourage you that way. but you'll get people who can give you some real, honest and professional criticism as well, and help you grow and develop. And I mean, there are so many things that are great about this community. It's unbelievable, man. Yeah, I know you must have been tired. There's Harvey didn't rob the Reverend. Well, that's good, man. I mean, because look, man, there'll be other opportunities, I'm sure. It is funny though. I will tell you that I did find a box of nails about 5 minutes before. Yeah, guys. So it's funny. Yeah, and that's why I came up and I was like, crap. I should have gone around the other side of the building. As soon as I saw you guys coming, I was like, that's red. I peeked. I did too. I did the little peek. I'm like, crap, it's red. Oh, fine. They saw me. I'll just come out. It's just like, but it was just, you guys, really, you guys don't need nails. But for me, that would have been a real kick in the boys. I'd have been like, damn it. I like it the next day or two when I run into somebody and they're all like, oh, I was so nice to you. And I'm like, good, because I was doing this. And they're like, But still, people are still do what they do with the Reverend because it's organic, man. It's like, you don't know. Somebody who wasn't prone to rob me before is probably not going to rob me again, but I rarely ever have anything. But anyone's always free to check, man. You're free to check. I've never drawn down on anybody. This is metagaming information, by the way, but you'd find this out. I mean, really, because I don't, my character's not aggressive, but, people know that. He's the Reverend Alessandro, man. Anyway, he's out to save souls. Sort of. Not really. So many times have I gone to say a story and then I just have to say, sorry, never mind. I don't actually know that. Yes. See, and it's good. I don't think that I've ever slipped up in Doug. There are times when I've started to talk about something and I've thought it in my head, and then I'll kind of dial it back and change the subject. Because I just wasn't 100% sure. Yeah, I've done that. I don't think I've spoiled anything though, or blown it. Now I've watched people do it, and we could have mentioned this on our streamer episode, but that's one thing that streamers really need to be cognizant of, especially if you're running Discord while you're streaming and people are having out of character conversations, is that you got to kind of keep these things in mind. That's why I'll never run Discord or TeamSpeak or anything when I'm streaming. Just because, it's like I wouldn't want to violate that in character, out of character thing. And no, people are not supposed to watch your stream. That's actually against the rules to watch your stream and play at the same time when they're not playing immediately with you. But there's also videos on demand and, things like that. So whatever. There's some really good story going on right now that I'm well aware of, that I know that people have learned things out of character, but have not brought it in character. And it only works to their benefit because they're excited, to be able to add this to things going on, but they just haven't yet. So it's cool, it's like, they're like, oh, I know one day I'm going to find out. When I do, until then, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. It's really cool. It's cool when, you meet veteran players and really, see their thought process and all that. It's really cool. Let's see. That's true. You can't unlearn that information. That's true. Almost all of my posts I make in character for others to have as in character info. Purple Manatee. A long time ago, Doug used Reddit like that, and I never stopped liking it. Well, it's good. And it makes sense because then you don't have to worry as much about the in character, out of character information. I like it. I like the story format. I like being able to tell stories because, a lot of times, and this is true, okay, because like I'm pretty good at improv. I think most people say, not to where I could be a professional improv actor or anything like that, not even close. But for role-playing purposes, I'm okay. And some people have seen me in really good, strong role-play moments, and people have seen me in very weak role-play moments where I'll just sit there and I'm quiet, and it's like nothing's really clicking for me. And I like to go back, right, on those moments when I'm really weak, and even moments when I'm strong, because people will still wonder why, why did he say that, or why would he do that? And writing the story gives an opportunity for people to go back and reread, the situation from the Reverend's point of view, or maybe, like I said, it might not have been as strong of a scene as it should have been, and then I can embellish a little bit, or maybe add some emotion or thought that kind of explains, why there was a long pause there, or why this happened, or I mean, wait till you guys read my depiction of the sermon. That's what I've been working on. I don't mind spoiling that. I'm writing on the sermon from a couple of weeks ago that I held an event, for those who didn't know, and I had tons of technical difficulties that night. My ISP crapped out on me. In fact, after midnight, they completely shut down for like 5 hours to fix everything. So yeah, there was a lot of technical difficulties, but the show went on as it should. Everybody role played around it. By the way, this is another good example of an organic role play opportunity, right? I mean, not to toot my own horn, I can only talk about the things that I know about, right? And yeah, man, I held this big event. We had I want to say there was like 30 plus people showed up, and it was awesome, right? But it's true. I was sitting there, I was delivering, a sermon off the top of my head. And then all of a sudden my character would freeze up. For everybody else, for me, it was still going. And then I was watching everybody else just kind of pop around everywhere. For everybody else, I was just, and then that was it. Right. And so instead people could have been like, oh, this dude screwed up, man. Oh, this event sucks, whatever. They could have gone all kinds of ways with it. Instead, people ended up just continuing on. They were just role playing. They were like, playing into it, it's like, they're pretending that it was still going on. There was even a part where I was running and all of a sudden I froze in the middle of the road, and they're like, oh, I've seen this before. This is like a trance, and they're talking about it and role playing around it, and it's just, I mean, that's just the kind of creativity and whatnot that people bring to the server. But I think that's a great example of another type of organic role play where you're just really rolling with the punches. Like I keep saying it because it keeps coming up, because it's literally what it is. And people had a great time, by the way, even through it all. Even I had a great time. And, you'll have to go back and watch a video once it's posted, or read the various stories that are coming out about it to find out more. Yeah, you should have robbed you. That's Harvey saying. If I delayed myself 5 more minutes, I wouldn't have gotten oh no! Sorry, Harvey. It would have been worth the box of nails. Sorry, man. Out of character, anyway. In character, the Reverend doesn't want you hurt either. That's a bummer, dude. And that's funny how real life works that way, too. I've noticed that in real life, and it definitely plays a part in this game because, again, it's so dynamic. So dynamic and organic that you have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you had been delayed just 5 minutes, something completely different would have happened later. I go through this all the time. You'll see, you guys don't see it, but I second guess myself quite a bit because sometimes I'll log in and I'll be like, oh, I've only got a couple of hours, but I'd really love to go see these people. Maybe I'll go and run over there. And I'm like, well, I don't know, because I won't really have time to get back. And then the next time I play, I might be streaming. And then it's like, I don't know. I'd kind of rather just start from fresh. So then I end up just like, farming or whatever. And then every once in a while, I'll ignore the impulse to do the easy thing. And I'll go and do the more dangerous thing. And I end up having tons of fun. It's like, usually. Sometimes I end up just wasting my time. And then I'm like, whatever. I should have just farmed. But most of the time, I mean, and this is the thing. It's like, you got to risk it for the biscuit, man. You can't sit around and just hope things will happen to you. You got a better chance of it happening in Doug, sure, because people want to come find you. But it's just like real life. You can't just sit around hoping that you'll get a job. You can't sit around hoping that someone will throw money at you and, you'll find the one sitting on your couch eating chips, watching Game of Thrones. It's just not going to happen. Oh, my goodness. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see. As a bad guy group, we've had people see our stories and be like, wait, I had no idea it actually went down like that. Because surprise, 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 people lie and see all the time. Yes, that's absolutely true. That's another fun thing about the storytelling aspect of this story, of this server. Again, it goes back to being able to explain why your character did something. It's fun because people might think, oh, you're just a jerk, man. God, this character is just a jerk and everything else. And then you go back and then you read the motivations behind their actions. And then you're like, wow, there's a lot of complexity and depth, that I didn't know. I was selling this person short because I didn't understand it. But again, that goes back into how we make all of our different various play styles fit together with the KOS and the PvP and the RP, because it does. It's all up here. It starts with us. Everybody says that, man. It's like, oh, you want to be the change that you want to see. I mean, it's true in this and in every aspect of your life. And that's something that I promised you guys when we started the gaming workshop, was that I was going to show you how these gaming principles even relate to our real lives. And that's, we do it every week, really. I'm telling you, man, lying NC is my favorite. It's even better when you find out that they were lying NC, and then you get to give them away a very stern talking. Oh yes, you get to react to it in character. The thing is though, and this is goes back to separating in character and out of character that we talk about often, because it's imperative that we do that. But that's one area where I try my best to draw the line. Is like, my character, well, my specific character aside, characters that I play may lie to you, may tell you the truth and everything else. But out of character, I always try to be honest with people, because I think it's important that we trust each other as players, to, play right. I've noticed, and I'm kind of a little lawyery about it when I talk to people, and I can always tell when people are being careful and are really being good at what they're doing, because they won't make grand sweeping promises. For instance, it might be like, oh well, I'll leave you alone while you're doing this, but over here, okay, I'll leave you alone over here while you're doing this. Okay, we'll just use that as a completely weird hypothetical. So then you go off and do something else, do something similar someplace else, and somebody's messing with you, and you're like thinking, oh, it's not them. They said that they wouldn't mess with me, and then you find out that they are, and then you're like, man, I'm mad now, OOC at you, because you told me that you weren't. But it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I wouldn't lie to you, OOC. I don't think that's a lie either, by the way. The description of and this is nothing that has happened. This is completely hypothetical. Hand to God, completely hypothetical. But I'm just saying, it's like, I would never do that. Like the kind of OOC betrayals that I'm talking about is I wouldn't coordinate with you out of character and say, yeah, dude, I can be on at this time so that we can talk. That'd be cool. And then go behind your back and tell all your enemies that you're going to be there. That's metagaming. That's illegal. And that's why we don't do it. Because it also creates bad blood. No one will ever trust you. No one will ever want to play with you. And it's just not the way to be. But now if I'm in character and my character's like, yeah, let's, I'll meet you back here in 20 minutes. Then he might go around and get all of his friends to come and ambush you. That's completely different. It's always separating character and out of character. Have we been covering everything that you guys have brought up so far pretty well? I think so. Because everybody brings up so many good points. And again, there's a lot of veterans, that come and watch this show too. So that's why you're going to get a lot of really good, knowledgeable advice hanging out in the chat. Let me throw this up here. Now, I did have a kind of a surprise thing. That's Discord. If you guys want to come in for live chat or even just hop into the Discord, hop in. We chat there after hours about the show, throw around show topic ideas, and actually treat this like a workshop for the people who need it. Now, keep in mind, the reason why the original spark that caused this show to happen was realizing that here we are trying to integrate all these different play styles. And yet so many people come from a specific background and haven't really encountered a lot of these different play styles, A lot of people, role play and are used to like, the video game role play aspect where you just have a character sheet and you're running through a pre-made story. And they're used to that kind of style. So when somebody comes in and throws a monkey wrench into their plans, they just freak out and don't know what to do. Same with like PvPers, running around. It's like, why don't these guys have loot? Why don't they fight back? Why are they just standing here farming all the time? This is boring, or even I don't understand why these guys don't get it, pick up a gun and shoot. It's not because there's anything wrong with the player. It's because they don't have the experience of understanding what it's like on the other side of the fence. And so that was the original purpose of this show, was to kind of help bring people together and kind of explore these different play styles and talk about ways that we could bring them together. And part of that was my being willing. What's up, Will? Part of that was my being willing to work with people, one-on-one or even on the show or anything else. That's why we called it a workshop. So the point of that is, if anybody does have anything that they want to work on, I mean, I've helped people come up with backgrounds. I've helped people come to terms with like why something was happening to them in game. Pretty much we're willing to help, and I'm not the only one. So, I mean, feel free to hop in the Discord. You can get help on the Doug Discord for all it matters, but just know that there are people here who are willing to help you because we want everybody to be successful. I've had to say this recently in Discord. We want everyone to be successful. We want new people to come in. We want people to have a good time. And we want people to contribute to the, as I called it, the tapestry that is Doug, some fancy way of saying, we want your input. We want you to help grow the server, Oh, thank you for that follow, Tom. But for some of you, we gotta polish off a few of the rough edges. That's all. That's what this is all about. What's up, Tom? I heard your name in game last night. That was interesting. I'm not gonna tell you why, because you weren't there. So. That's how it goes. Tom originally I think it was original character. I can't remember if it's the same dude or not. Originally was an Old Town guy with me down there. So it's always fun to hear about Tom. Yep, find out in game. It's always fun to hear Tom pop up because I don't really see him much anymore. Oh my goodness. Would I be open to interviewing a role player from a different server? Actually, I think that would be fantastic. I would love to do that, because first of all, here, and this is why I think it's a great idea, is because we get people that come from other servers all the time. And we always, because we play on Doug all the time. And in fact, like I've said, in my almost 2,000 hours, like 99% of it has been on Doug. And 98% of it has been on Doug. And so, when people come and they explain their experiences, or whatever, and I try to be lighthearted. I try to be nice to people and kind, even though, because we field the same questions all the time. Anybody who deals with a Discord involving a game or anything knows that. But people get frustrated with it, and they're just like, whatever. It would be nice to know, and actually talk to somebody and get their perspective and opinion and why, because we do that. We we love the tension. I mean, look, man, I tell you, I play this game to relax, and people think I'm nuts because it's so tense. Maybe because maybe there's something to be gained from the way other people have played on other servers too. I mean, because I know there was a PvE server. That's player versus environment. It means there's really no PvP. They had PvP zones, and what they like to do is get together and go and loot stuff and go and hunt and fish and that sort of thing. Now, I've explained this before, right? Because there's another game that I play on very rare occasion called American Truck Simulator. And I bought it kind of as a joke because I didn't really get it, right? I was like, is it driving a rig? Okay, that's cool. I've never done that, so why not try it out? And then I got into it, I played it a little bit, and it was fun. And then I noticed all these people streaming it. And then I went in and I started talking to some of them. And then I found out that there are a lot of reasons why people play video games. It's not just the reasons that I have, and like a lot of people that enjoy a game like that, it used to be an activity that they enjoyed in real life. And maybe they can't do that anymore. So somebody like a quadriplegic would have a really hard time going hunting, for instance, or fishing or any of that. Now, they probably don't play video games, but you know what I'm saying. Come on, cut me some slack, man. So it's interesting, because you just get to learn different people's perspectives. I mean, hell, that's why I like talking to other players, because I come at all this from my point of view, but I don't, I come with my own preconceived notions, man, and it's like it's what we all bring to the table that matters. I'd love to do that. I'll tell you what, man. If you have anybody in mind, well, let's get together on probably Discord or something and talk about that. What's up, Will? Dude, did you want to hop in, Will? If you want to hop in today, just hop into the Discord. If you need the link, I'll put it up again. I've only put it up like 3 times today, and but if not, it's cool. I mean, I'm almost always willing to chat with anybody, voice. All you have to do is join the Discord and hop into the waiting room, and then I'll move you up in between topics or whatever. But I don't think people know that most of the time, or I understand a lot of people are at work or can't really chat or whatever, and that's all good. But yeah, man. I mean, this is I could talk for 2 hours. I could talk for 4 hours if I need to. But this is an opportunity to chat with you guys. So bring it, man, Oh my goodness. Euro Truck Simulator 1 was so relaxing. Dude, I'm telling you, I had no idea. When I would do like a 2-hour drive on a video game. And what's funny is when I first played it was last July, and I drove out to Texas. I live in Georgia. I drove out to Texas to go help my in-laws for a week and then drove back. And that is the game. American Truck Simulator is the game I chose to play much of the time I was there. After driving halfway across the country, I'm like, no, I didn't have enough. Give me a video game where I can do it. I have no idea what I was thinking, but it really was. I enjoyed it, man. It's a fun game. I just can't, it's like I'm always so active in all these other things that I do that I just don't have time. I don't have time. I don't know. Thank you, Robert. I have to have the gift of gab. Otherwise, this would be very boring. I mean, I'm just saying. Awesome. Thank you, dude. And I see you joined Discord too. I think I got you rolled up. Yeah. You're a baby boomer now. All right, man. Well, it's kind of winding down. I wanted to talk a little bit. Oh, thanks 206 guy. I'm really glad to see you being involved, dude. I hope that you find what you're looking for here. Somebody had asked me to talk a little bit about navigation in the game. Okay. This is actually a okay subject for me. Not that I was ever in the military or anything, but I've taught scouts, and in scouts, you learn a skill called Orientiering, and that is the number one way I find of being able to get around DayZ and on Doug. Now, unfortunately, I kind of feel like it depends on your attitude. I use IZurvive.com. Most people use IZurvive.com. Some people probably don't like it. I don't care about you. I mean, I do care about you, but I don't care about that opinion. Because, quite frankly, there are in-game maps, which are awesome. And, we have people that put a lot of time and effort into making them, and I love them, and I'm glad we have them. But they're very impractical to try to use for real, I mean, because you can't even really hold the map up in front of the camera. When you're zooming in, it's great. It's a role play prop. And you can't carry around the hiking trail maps with you. So, sue me. I use IZurvive. But I could never find anything using IZurvive all by itself. I have to learn how to use things like landmarks, the way we do it in Orientiering. And some people, now this is interesting because I hadn't really thought about it, because I already know about Orientiering and everything. And people, when you say Orientiering, they automatically just think you're talking about the Orientiering compass. And a lot of people are like, the orienteering compass sucks. It doesn't work and all this stuff. I'm like, man, I don't know what the problem is. I use orienteering compasses all the time. In fact, I'm pretty sure they work the exact same way as the fancy compasses, except that the durability might be different, or because they're certainly more plentiful. I mean, I find tons of orienteering compasses. The reason why they're called an orienteering compass, by the way, is because you're supposed to be able to have a map. And then on the orienteering compass, I don't know why I don't have one with me. Anyway, I'm not going to go look for it now, obviously. But, you know, you'll see there are lines and there are graphs and whatnot. And it's to help you calculate distance, and, you know, because that's why it's see-through. You put it on a map and you cannot do that in DayZ. And I'm pretty sure you have the orienteering compass. We have modders in here now. We're going to have the whole mod team here next week, by the way, who love to talk about this stuff. But I'm pretty sure that the orienteering compass is just there for variety, okay? There's really no difference. So if you tell me that your orienteering compass doesn't work, I don't think you know how to use a compass. No offense. I'm sorry. But I will teach you. I could teach you how to use a compass. Let me see. Dr. Deasing says it used to spawn as a chance in the cereal boxes. See, now I bet that was cute. That was pretty cool then, because it's like the prize inside. I would have been like, oh, that's neat. It would have been something cool to have. But yeah, on paper maps. Now, okay, now, Dr. Deasing, since I just talked all this crap about things I didn't know about, are you saying you can actually use the orienteering compass on the in-game tourist maps? Like, because if so, I'd be really... Okay. Oh, man. You're about to just blow my mind, dude. All right, you're probably talking about real life then. Because I'm like, that would be the coolest thing ever. Because then I can see you combine the two, and then it just becomes like the full screen display of the map. And then you can move the compass around. That would be so sweet. Somebody write that down for next week. Get the modding team on that stat. I'm just kidding, guys. But no, that would be super cool. Yeah, no, I saw that actually. I think on some servers you can press M. Is that what you're talking about? It pulls up a UI map. Because I'm glad we don't have that. Now, even though I use IZurvive, okay, which again, it's a third-party map. I don't like the in-game map. I'm glad we don't have it. And it's because there's still a little bit of difficulty to it. It's not as easy. It's not, just having the map. I mean, granted, okay, look, man, for me, if some people got alt tab. You can download it as an app, on your phone. I've got a second screen where I have my map up, sometimes, but I still have to apply skill and knowledge to use it properly, right? I mean, I might actually make a video about this. I don't know if you guys know. We'll a few of us have gotten together on a Discord, and we're talking about making how-to videos, and things like that about Doug and like basic survival things and all that. We've been talking about it for a couple of months. We haven't actually done it yet because it's just been real busy. I just freed up one of my days during the week, so we'll see, maybe. And one of those videos ought to be actually showing people how to navigate in the game. But what I wanted to do, and you guys will bear with me, I've never done this. I'll look at the chat real quick because I won't be paying attention to chat much in a minute. But I'm going to pull up my screen because it was just the easiest way to do it. And I'm going to show you guys IZurvive real quick for people who don't know it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And now I can't show you in game what I'm talking about, but hopefully I can be descriptive enough and you guys will know what I'm talking about. And I will be on, I don't know, man. And up to at least 45 minutes, maybe less, depending on how things go, maybe more, because sometimes we go over, but usually I try to stay on until 4. Using the paper map opens the UI, not a toggle. I see. Let's see. One thing about that, I can't invite just any of my DayZ buddies. Oh, because their actions can affect my gameplay and story negatively. See, now look, man, I want to tell you something before we get into the more of the Orientiering stuff. That 206 guy, I really appreciate that attitude, because for one, Doug is not for everybody. It's just not, and I've mentioned it before. Right now I'm a really good fit for the community. You never know. Anything could happen. I could get soured on something, get bitter. My personality could change and I could become real down or whatever. And then the next thing you know, I'm no longer a good fit. Some people are, some people aren't. Maybe at different points of someone's life, they would have been a better fit. Regardless, it's great that you think that way. because it is. There are people I wouldn't invite to play here, because they wouldn't take it the same way, in the way that I would want to promote other people to play. So it's very cool, man, that you would look at it that way. It's surprising to me how many people don't know which way is north or south, even after years of playing. Now, I will tell you, for people who are new to DayZ, all right, that it'll happen that after time through playing, you're going to see things and you're going to recognize them. It blows my mind to this day. Like I spent almost a month in the Northeast when I first started playing 7 months ago. Then I spent like all this other time in the South. And now when I end up in the Northeast, I still will recognize certain landmarks and things that I saw from then. And it'll help me navigate and get on my way. It's an amazing phenomenon. And, it is even things that I never would have thought. Like sometimes you're like, oh, this formation, it's like you really recognize it. But then other times, it's like just the way the rocks are, or the way like a rail will run through some rocks and there'll be a tuft of trees. And it's just like, it could be anything. And it just sits in your memory. And then it's like months later you run by and you're like, oh, I know exactly where I am. Cause you see that. It's like, what? But anyway, that happens all the time. So you're going to get that stuff. But all right, let me see how to do that. I've never done this before, so bear with me. This is not super complicated stuff. Actually, I'm going to move Windows over. And this is why, because if I had done this a lot, I would have done it seamlessly and you guys would have been like, not thought anything of it. That's how cool it would have been. Let's see if this works. Yes. And I did take my camera off because of things we need to look at. This, my friends, is IZurvive.com. This is the map that most people use. This is what it will look like the very first time you log into it on the website. You can download the different maps on the app, but this is what it looks like on the website. It's very cluttered. It looks very confusing. And they've updated a lot of things. So if you haven't used it in a while, you're going to see like some of the icons, like the ship icon is different. And there's tons of little dots all over the map. So now for playing on Doug, I don't care about other servers, whatever. I don't know how the other servers work, but playing on Doug, things like we have fruit trees disabled and that sort of thing, right? So what I'll do is when I first come in, you only have to do this once if you create a username and all this. It remembers all this stuff anyway. Is I go through the filters, right? And I like to go through, and they've added all these generic filters, right? So there's like military. I'm not sure what the generic military ones are, but I'll turn them off because, oh, look at that. Yeah, okay. Because a lot of the generic ones are of no help to you. That took all of them out, didn't it? Hold on a minute. Oh, no, I was playing with this earlier. Right. Okay. So it starts out with all of the generics on. Okay. I like to turn them off. The reason why is because you're looking at some of these generics right here. Okay. For instance, these blue ones, look where they're at. These are individual houses. These are showing you where the houses are and buildings. You don't need to know that. You don't need to see that on the map. You got things like, what are the green ones? The green ones are, I forget what the green ones are. Probably plants. I forget. Some of these, though, are obvious, like industrial. Look at this. See all these little brown dots? These are sheds. Generic sheds. You don't need to know where all the sheds are. I don't anyway. When I'm running, I'm still looking at the camera, even though I have the camera turned off. That's fantastic. I'm good at this. Okay. Boats. These are like, these are the boat docks. Shipping container. Oh, no. My bad. No, these boats are the lootable boats that sometimes have, little things that pop up on the coast. And then it shows the shipping containers, the shipwreck. There's only one shipwreck. I don't know. I don't need to go through all this too much, but there's only one shipwreck. It's way up here. I never go there anyway. There's nothing around it. It's kind of a bummer. Although, it's kind of a cool place to set up a base if you want. Anyway, so I go through and I turn off all this stuff, right? Because I don't need all these extra things on here. I'll leave all the landmarks on. I'm sorry I'm not reading you guys. I'll come check you out in a minute. Nature. We don't need any of this. None of this stuff spawns on Doug. Turn all that off. Look at all those dots disappear. Now you're getting to be a readable map, right? You can leave most of these animals don't. The hare, we don't have rabbits. I don't know if we have all this. I think we have all this other stuff. But anyway, I leave them on there anyway. Okay, now we've got a map right? That's serviceable. Okay. This is Dolina, whatever. And you can see it's got cool things. It's got some landmarks like these are bars or taverns. And actually, you can click on them now, and they show you the kind of things that they are. Just for people who've never seen it, if you've seen it, I'm sorry if it's boring you. These are police car spawns. And, up here, there are somewhere right here, helicopter spawns and police spawns. You can turn those on and off. I like to leave them on because, look, man, if I'm running through here, right, and I'm crossing this street, this is a road, and I'm crossing the road, I might just be heading wherever it is I'm going. But if I see that there might have been a police spawn to my right, when I'm crossing the street, I might look to the right and just happen to see if it's there. It's up to you. These are the kinds of things that make people feel like this is cheating a little bit. But as I promised you, I was going to teach you how to navigate a little bit and teach you a little bit of orienteering, which I have to do without actually showing you in map or in game or any of that. Here, I'm going to do this. I am done showing you filters. I think I can make it happen. There we go. Hi. It's good to see you guys. Let's see. The filter function is definitely your best friend, Dr. DC. Most definitely. Here, I'll just leave it over here. But you can see I can put my OBS over there. You're going to get infinity effect there in a minute. Anyway, so now you can look at this map, right? It's kind of like a topographical map with information on it. That means it shows the topography of a region, the elevations. And it's also got a satellite view. I rarely ever use this. Some people will prefer it, and that's cool. You can do that. I'm old school. I grew up with the map in the glove compartment that you had to unfold and, kind of refold or ball it up, throw it in the back when you got tired of trying. So I'm used to this kind of thing, okay? And we'll come over here to Stroidel a little bit. I want to show you guys this. There are different things about this map. Say we're hanging out in Debovo, not because I have done that quite a bit, know the area or not, but whatever. And let's say I just want to go north. We'll just make it easy. We'll go to Mogalevka, just because I know all this. And say I'm coming up through Cherno Industrial, right? And I'm running, okay, and you're looking at this map, right? And you can see there's where the tree lines are. You can see there's these double lines are the electrical cables. These are the big ones too, the double line ones. You can see over here, you'll learn these things as you're playing, but these little black lines right here, these are the smaller power cables, that go along the telephone poles and whatnot. And as you're coming up through here, the reason why I like this area, for instance, or like an area like this, is as you're coming through, you can you may spawn in, you might not know where you are. You're running north, and then you notice oh, well, here I've run across a railroad track. There is some industrial. Now I can see there's a road around here and a pond in the middle. These are landmarks. I mean, these are things that I use to help me figure out. I could run through this area, right? I could be running through this area, and I would know where I'm at because of these landmarks I'm talking about. There's houses up this way, and there's some trees. These trees are actually pretty well placed on the map. It's very detailed. So, if you're coming through and say I want to, say I'm in the middle of nowhere and I start running, it's if I have a basic idea of where I am, or say I was up at this camp and I'm running and I'm lost now, I can look and see, okay, I can look at the ground. I can see that I'm up at a high elevation and that the ground is going down. And then the ground comes back up. You can see these kinds of things when you're up high. You can see the topography of the ground. You can use all of these different elevations and things to try to help figure out where you're at. Last night, let's see, as an example that I remember off the top of my head, you can see I don't have any dug landmarks on this particular map. There's a reason why I used a fresh map for this. Mainly because in IZurvive, you can actually sign in, create a group, and then put little landmarks or little, pins all over the map. And then other people that know that information can log in and see it, stuff like that. I didn't want to deal with all those filters. But anyway, I was running, here it is. This is perfect right here. I was running north, right? And I was bypassing radios in it and just kind of coming through here. And I noticed as I did, I came by, there was a huge castle on my left. So I knew where I was. I traveled through, right? And I passed through a clearing into some woods, found a lake. So this is how I knew where I was, even though I wasn't trying to plot a direct course, right? I used these landmarks to help figure it out. I just ran until I hit a road because I knew a road was coming, and then I ran into some more woods. Now here's the thing. Okay, this was kind of interesting. I had a compass with me, right? And you know, north is up on the map. And if you're looking at the compass, there's a big N on it. And when that N is in front of you, that's north. Okay. If you turn, right, you turn, and north is this way, but you're facing this way, you're not facing north anymore. North is the same direction, but now you're facing east because you've turned. And on some of the compasses, there will be an E in front of you now. Okay. This is, I mean, honestly, I mean, it's no offense to anybody that doesn't know this. If you've never used a compass, you'll never know this. So that's how you can tell which direction you're facing when you're holding your compass. Now, I will tell you this. A lot of people think that the orienteering compass is broken because when it's on your quick slot bar, but it's put away, it shows a different direction. It does. It's so you have to pull your compass out to look at it to see which direction you're on. Okay, that's the reason why it does, as far as I know. Now, you can be clever, and when you look at it, you can see what direction it's pointing. Put it away. See what direction it's pointing on the quick slot bar. Make that mental calculation in your mind and still use it. But I will, even last night, I was constantly pulling my compass out. Anyway, so what had happened was I left my compass up and I was just, you know, doing whatever. And I wasn't really paying attention. And I kind of drifted off this way, you know, a little to the left. And I noticed that it's weird because all I see is this big open space in front of me. So I started looking around, right? And then I spotted this deer shack. And I'm like, wait a minute. There's no other, I know I was in this area. There's no other deer stand or, you know, anywhere, a hunter stand anywhere. This must be where I am, okay? And so what I did was I went to the deer stand, and then I was like, okay. And then I could see the tree line as I was looking. The tree line just went straight, as you can see on this map that it does, okay? And so what I did was I followed the tree line just inside the tree line all the way up. And then lo and behold, I encountered a slight clearing, and then there was a very thin row of trees, just like you see on the map. And these, my friends, are ways that you learn to get around. And I will talk about in-game stuff. I know some of you guys threw some stuff out in just a minute. But man, I'm telling you, it's like, I'm so glad that I know how to use a map. Because man, it would have been a nightmare trying to learn anything, how to get anywhere in this game. If you don't understand. That's why I was glad somebody brought it up, because it never even occurred to me that people might not know how to use a map or a compass. So, but you know, it's like when I was making my return trip, I was coming by, I came through this way. Yeah, I came through this town. I'm not going to try to pronounce it yet. I'm gonna have to learn how to pronounce it though. And I saw, and I was like, I don't know where it was. I think I had misjudged which road I was on is what it was. I thought I was coming down this road. I ended up coming down through the center of this town over here. And once I hit the town, I was like, oh crap. I was like, where am I? And I had to, you know, figure it out, look around and get my bearings. I was like, okay. But as I was coming down this way, I was trying to judge. What I did was I came through around this way and I was just cutting through the trees, but I wasn't following this path. By the way, this is a red hiking trail on this map. It shows all the hiking trails. It's a color. Corresponds with it in the end game. But anyway, I used this Devil's Castle, which is a humongous castle, as a landmark all the way down. If I thought I was turned around, I would make sure Devil's Castle was on my right. And then I knew that I was still going south. And finally, you know, like when it was dark or whatever, if I couldn't look at my compass very well. Sometimes when it's bright out, it's hard to look at your compass because you're getting a glare from the sun. And then you got to turn, and then you got to, whatever, you know, you got to figure it out. You just got to think it through. And I think those were kind of the main points that I wanted to show, at least in the things that I can show without being in game or trying to show you landmarks for real, which is why I was trying to pick an area that I knew I was familiar with. And by the way, you can scroll in like ridiculously tight on the PC version, but on the app version, you can't scroll in as tight. So you're not going to get as much detail. I mean, when I was living down in Cherno, I would scroll in like this and like, this was the church. I mean, I would get a screenshot of that. I mean, that's pretty good detail. You can actually see all the individual buildings. You know, you can zoom in that far. So I mean, it's a fantastic tool. Again, we use Discord for comms. I mean, come on, you know, it's okay. You can use IZurvive if it helps you out enough. Personally, I think it's worth using. But again, it's like, oh, and it's something else I would tell you is that something else that's useful is if like these filters, you know, I was talking about it. earlier, the industrial filter, for instance, because a lot of people are looking for nails all the time. It might be beneficial to you to have all the sheds highlighted on the map, you know? I guess that's why they added it. It wasn't a feature. Here's a good example of one. It wasn't a feature that they've always had, okay? But they added it recently, where they would show where those are. But I mean, still, I'm running around. I pretty much know where they are. I like to use it for like where the garages are, you know, and things like that. Like if you want to find a big concentration of garages, you can, you know, I'll find them on IZurvive, maybe plan out, you know, my day. And then here we go. And then go. And then, of course, if somebody pops up and I end up role playing, don't get upset because they interrupted your garage hunting. Roll with the punches, man. It's organic roleplay, dude. Oh, that's pretty much why we're all here. That was my impromptu thrown together presentation. We're going to scroll up here and read what you guys are saying through all of it, because I wasn't able to read too much what you guys were saying at the time. Let's see. Yeah, really, I mean, don't feel bad if you don't know how to read a compass. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's not a life skill that everybody, I feel like it's a life skill everybody needs, but not everybody does. Swimming is another one. You know, there are people who live in cities all their lives, never go swimming or whatever. And they're like, why do I need to learn how to swim? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe because you could die if you don't know how to swim. It's like, you could end up on a boat and fall over and, you know, fall off. And then you're dead because you didn't know how to swim, you know, whatever. But yeah, it was a skill that I was able to pick up. I had a reason to, in scouting and teaching kids how to orienteer. Those are actually really fun, by the way. If you ever get an opportunity to go out and orienteer in real life, people do it. Geocaching is a kind of popular way of orienteering these days. If you don't know what that is, there are apps where people go out and they hide things in the real world and leave clues, and then you go and you find them. It's kind of like scavenger hunting, but you know, they leave you clues as to its location, like, oh, it's like, you know, maybe up higher than you think or whatever. I don't know. They just leave clues if they're clever, and then you can find them. We did it with my family a few times. We had a lot of fun. But I like finding things, you know, I like doing that, so I guess it makes sense. Let's see. Yeah, you're the ultimate survivor, but don't know which direction. Oh, now here's something. All right, yeah, I think somebody's gonna say this in a minute. I think I saw it real quick, but there are a couple of facts in game that help you determine your direction if you don't have a compass. Okay, first is, yes, the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So if it's been nighttime and now it is morning and the sun is to your right, the sun rises in the east. So that must be to your right, it must be east. That means in front of you would be north, opposite of east is west, and then behind you is south, right? Okay, that's one way you can do it. Now, sometimes it gets harder to tell as morning gets into afternoon and the sun starts to hit its apex and stuff, but honestly, I'm not that good at it even in real life when the sun's right above, if I don't know which side of noon I'm on. If I do, then it's not so bad, you know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, it's late afternoon and the sun's off to a little side and that side must be west. You just kind of think it through. And DayZ also, now this is something that people have told me, and I did not experience it for the longest time, but they say the clouds always move east. What they don't tell you is that the clouds do not always move. Okay? So you can't always rely on that. But if the clouds are moving, they're going to be moving due east. So you can tell that way also. Now, if it's, you know, whatever, midday or night and it's raining, you're pretty screwed. Find a compass or learn how to tell landmarks. Hold on, because Dr. D thinks spreading some knowledge here. He says depends on the wind speed in the game. Right, depends on the wind speed in the game. He says use the middle mouse eye and zoom and stand still. Yes, that's the only way you can tell. That's the only way you can really tell. Sometimes you can just look up and see it if it's going real fast. But it is true. I mean, I can't tell sometimes, so that's why I say that. But if it's going real slow, you'll be able to tell. You just got to be patient. I mean, really, I use the landmark thing a lot in conjunction with the map, and I'll go up and stand on like I'll try to get to the highest elevation that I can get. If it's overcast, if I cannot tell, I'll just try that. I'll get up to the highest elevation that I can. I'll try to find anything that looks, like it syncs up with the map, like we were talking about before. I like once I learned the topography of DayZ, it became a lot easier to use the map as well, because you think about it, it's like, oh, all you see is forest. But yeah, when you see those lines, those are elevation marks. They're either going up or down. And you can tell when you're there, and it's like, I can look at the map and I could plot a path. I could go, okay, if I want to, I could go over these mountains so that I can get a good view around me, or I could go around the mountain and through a valley. It's pretty interesting being able to use a map to that degree, because then it's like, you can try to be strategic about your approach. Sometimes you might want to go over so that you are above somebody and have better line of sight, or can see easier if anybody's approaching. Sometimes you want to go down through the valley because, you want to be sneaky and you want to keep down, use the mountains as cover. Whatever floats your boat, guys. See, Robert said I had the gift of gab, but it peters out after a while, No, I agree, Dr. Desync. It would be fantastic to be able to upload a custom map to IZurvive. That would be rad. And a lot of people don't know this, by the way, but the Chernarus map is based on real life topography. It's a real area. It's just that there's no green sea, there's actually, I don't think there's even a coast at all the way up the north. I've seen like a real, you can Google it. It's easy to find, actually. But it's really cool looking, and you can see up near Svet, like where everything stops up in the northeast. It actually just continues on, because it's the real planet and everything. But it's pretty neat. It's cool to see where the real towns are, the major towns, and stuff. And you can even see that they matched some of the topography of the real life locations, not completely, especially when they added a sea. But it's still really, really cool. All right, let's see. Now I'm just kind of bouncing around from your comments, guys. Oh, I guess Harvey was probably seeing, maybe, I don't know, Gorka. He wants to Gorka stay out the pin on the map. Let's start up at the beginning here. Man, you guys were chatting a lot when we were talking about the map. Let's see. I don't even know, man. If I don't say anything that you guys said you wanted me to say, just say it again, and I'll see it. Yeah, okay, so Salid's saying that the compasses in-game each work differently. Maybe they do. I mean, I don't know, because I personally, they work just fine for me, and I don't have any problems using either one, and I get where I'm going. But I just use them for their very basic functions, There are other compasses. I mean, there are very basic compasses in the real world, which is just like the little ball that tells you which direction you're facing. And then there's like the Orientiering compasses with the maps, where you lay it down on the map and you can chart, all this distances and all this other stuff. But then if you've ever wondered, there are like the really fancy compasses, and I forget what they're called. The Orientiering compasses. But, they're like the sweet compass. There are compasses like, that are still just the floaty ones, with the cases and covers. And I think those are kind of like the gold ones in game. But there are also ones where you can actually use it in real life to determine your distance from things, because it's got like I don't know what any of this is called. This is compassing beyond my pay grade, okay? But you can use it and you can make adjustments, and there are levers and whatnot, and you're looking through it and you can actually tell your distance and stuff. I don't know. It gets real sciencey at that point. It's like being able to tell how tall a tree is by measuring the shadow, it's in the time of day and stuff. It's like it gets real sciencey for me. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to embarrass myself now. I mean, come on, man. That's what I do. I embarrass myself for your amusement. I'm just going to scroll down. Let's see. I think the best way to start playing the game is to not use the map, but use it down the line once you start getting your own lay of the land and the coastline. See, now that's actually really good advice. I didn't have IZurvive at first. It was probably 3 or 4 weeks into before I heard of it. And I agree with that, although you may be talking about a little bit longer than I used it. I used it, once I discovered it, I used it all the time. But but it was different. You know, like I would use it and I'll be like, okay, I'd look for landmarks that I'm going to be looking for because I like to be immersed in the game when I'm playing. And so I would come up with like, you know, like like I've been given directions basically. And then I would try to play it out in the game as I went. And so I learned to integrate the map with what I'm seeing in real life, you know, in the game and vice versa. And so now I don't need the map as much, especially in areas I've been a lot. But I guess it's different for everybody. I would really hate for somebody to start using the map, the IZurvive map, and just use it as a crutch all the time and never really learn the end game map. But then again, I mean, you know, I'm pretty good at weaning myself off. I mean, when I quit smoking cigarettes, I was vaping for a few months and then weaned myself off of that as well. So that's just how I operate. But, you know, don't get yourself stuck on using the third party app. You really don't want to do that. It really is much more fulfilling. Trust me when I say it's more fulfilling when you wake up one day on the coast and you stop and you look around and you're like, oh, I know where this is. Damn, you know, and it's like because you've just been there so many times, or you're running through and you're lost and you come out of a tree line and you're like, crap, I was supposed to be on the other side of this mountain, but you know where you are just from the things you see. It's a fun feeling. I feel like I've accomplished something, kind of conquered the world a little bit, you know, because I learned my way around. Gosh. Yeah, it definitely doesn't come overnight either. Really placing things and using landmarks on the map makes it easy at nighttime. Yeah. Oh man, nighttime navigation, guys. Look, people play with their monitors. Whatever. Not everybody can do that. Okay, so it's cheating anyway. I mean, really, when you think about it, the worst thing for me at nighttime is all of these. If I'm like streaming, it's rough at night because I can't. You know, I've got all this glare from these lights. But normally, you know, at nighttime, if I can, I'll turn off all the lights so that I can at least, so that my environment is conducive with the darkness. But it's weird. I've gotten really used to navigating at night because I lived in Cherno and it was like nighttime. That was really kind of one of the best times to go because people would spot you less often, you know. And it's like the worst part of it for me is looting because it's like I don't want to miss anything. So sometimes I'll run over into corners and I'll hit tab if, you know, I suspect something's there, but I'm not seeing it. But nighttime gets really rough. People log out at night. If you want to get in the queue, nighttime's the time to get in because people will log out. I think it's unfortunate people will go sit in their bases and hide, but sometimes it makes sense, man. Some great role play happens when you're riding out in the night. But you know what my big secret is to nighttime navigation? I mean, because you can do things. You can have like the little headlamp. I love that they're red, by the way now. I wish that I would find more alternate colors, but red is really great for nighttime viewing in real life. But I like I'll take like a glow stick. People wonder why I pick up glow sticks. I'll take a glow stick and pop it, and then put it in my pocket, and then put it on the hot bar, so that if I need a flash of light real quick, I can pop it out and then hide it, and then people can't see me across the town running around with my glow stick like an idiot. Because trust me, man, when you get, and then people are like, I got KOS, it sucks. Yeah, well, if it was in that circumstance, no wonder. But yeah, I like doing things like that. But no, what I've really learned, the secret that I've really learned, and it works more in rural areas than it does in city areas, but I learned to recognize silhouettes. Like I could spot an outhouse silhouette, or I could spot, you know, like a shed silhouette, or, you know, a crop of trees, the silhouette of a crop of trees. I've learned to distinguish these kinds of things when it gets super dark. And yes, there are times when I'll just put it on roleplay walk mode and I'll walk a wall or something if it gets too dark and I really don't know where I am. But I try not to be afraid of the dark. I still like to go out when it's dark and do things. I don't know. It's a part of the game, and it's a part of the life, man. Sometimes you have to go out in the dark. It's scary, but you know, it's all right. Worst comes to worst, you'll wake up on the coast. Hey, Will! I'm going to bring you up, buddy. Hey, man, you there?
I'm here.
There you are. Hold on, let me turn you up a little bit. You might have to turn yourself up a little bit. We'll see how you're doing. Oh, I can crank you up over here, too. What do you like to go by? What do you want me to call you, Will? Will good?
Yeah, Will. That's
Well,
what was my name.
oh well, if it's your name and everything, I guess we'll go with it. We might
But
as well.
one of the things I like to go by, like, I live in Severo, so there's so many. It's such a big place. It's really kind of cool. But like I've learned, like I just recently got off the coast and realized, hey, I know where I am. And it was like it's. I agree with you. It's like one of the best feelings in the world. There's nothing that can compare to that. Just being able to wake up and finally not having to open IZurvive and say, "Where the hell am I?"
Oh, for
You
real,
know.
man. Oh yeah, and especially when you're waking up on the coast, because that's really the last time you want to be standing there, all tabbed out looking at a map. Because
Yeah.
you're standing there on the coast, you're already dying of thirst just from the beginning. So it's like
You know what the worst thing is? Like I remember the first time I did that, immediately got bonked in the head by somebody with a sledgehammer. Just managed to catch the tail end of it. I'm like, I don't
exactly.
think I should be doing that anymore.
Well, I do, and of course, because everybody's first goal when you wake up on the coast is to find water because you're dying of thirst immediately. So it's like, or you will be, and so it's like real nice once you've learned where all the coastal water wells are, and you're like,
Mm-hmm. That I haven't.
oh, I know right where I'm at. Oh, I know where to go, and then you get there and somebody's gated it up.
Yeah, I had that and I was like, you be kidding me. You're blocking off a water well?
I'm telling you, that's like my worst fear. It's like, oh
Like,
god,
that's
it's
even worse
horrible.
than shooting
For a
somebody.
freshie. For a freshie, I'll starve to death. No problem, man. But if I find that water, man, get out of my way.
Like I had somebody like I spawned. I don't remember which one it is. I think it's the Berezino one. I was spawning on there and I'm like, yay, I'm gonna live. Water was boarded up. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. You are one evil person.
So did you get to see my brief little orienteering
I did not.
display? Oh, it's too bad. We'll have to go back and see it.
Yeah,
I can't go
but
back through it. I pulled up IZurvive and everything though. Yeah, Will was asking about it. I mean, because it's true. I mean, we all come from different backgrounds and stuff, and so it's like some people, some people don't know how to read a map. And to me, that was such a basic life skill. But if you've got Google Maps telling you all the time, you don't have to
you
figure
were
it out.
around in a time where they didn't have maps, I bet. Or GPS, because I remember reading textbooks that weren't like, oh my god, GPS was not a thing then.
Yeah.
And I realized I just got the very beginning of that, so I didn't really have to learn how to read a map. But I do know how to read one. But one of the things that is so different from me and everybody else is I have a learning disability. I've had it all my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, running north and south, people are like, why didn't you catch on by now? You just dumb? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
But,
It sucks, man.
Yeah, I am dumb. I know I am.
It's like, come on, guys.
You're like, come on. I know I'm dumb. You don't have to tell me things I already know.
Fair. People say those kinds of things all the time. What are you, blind?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I have glasses too.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm pretty
God,
blind.
I feel like a jerk.
Do you think I can help it? But like one of the things like I just learned, like people are like, oh, you're in Severo. Where is Dugout? North. And I'm like, how do you know that? Learning. Like just like people like shots to the north, shots to the north. I'm like, oh, well, that's probably Dugout. Probably should go check on that.
Yeah.
And it's just like it just kind of like learns. Like I would forget that. Like they said shots to the north. Like, this just happened like the other day. And I was like, where's north? Oh yeah, Dugout. And I'm like, what's part of north? Who cares? I'll figure that out when I get there.
Well, it's really neat. This is one of the things that I've always loved about computer games and role playing and open world games like this. It's because it really does mirror real life. Like I've always had a really decent sense of direction, but I mean, I would be sitting in my apartment in Cherno and I would hear gunshots and I would think, well, first of all, it would all come together quickly, right? I would orientate myself, be like, okay, I'm facing this way. I know town square is that way. The sounds came from that way. Is it coming from town square? Like, well, it wasn't that loud. It was kind of muffled. It was a little far. Probably, I don't know if it was all the way at Cherno Industrial. It was probably at the Crack House Peninsula. And so then I would have kind of like an idea of where the shots were coming from. I could narrow it down that far. And sure enough, if if I was to go investigate, I would find out that in fact, that's where trouble was brewing. It's super cool to be able to do that. Now I can't do, because some people, know this game so well. I mean, and it probably doesn't even take that long if you're into it, but they'll tell you like what caliber weapon, and they can even tell you what weapon it was. They can tell you, what they were shooting at. And now that's not so hard. I mean, if it's like, probably it was a person they were shooting at, but, but even then some people will, you hear a lot of like a series of pow, pow, pow. You know, usually that's somebody shooting infected, or something. It's not. They're not actually usually shooting at somebody. Now they might be trying to snipe them, but I mean, I don't know, whatever. That's the kind of things that the variables that screw me up when I try to predict what people are doing. But some people are just like on it. I like hanging out with them.
There's just one.
I learned something.
I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a good example. Like, there's some people like, I'm like, how the hell do you know that? I don't even know that. Nice. Like, this bait, I'm like, I'm already walking towards it. They're like,
yeah,
stop.
That's what Harvey's saying. He's like, yeah, come investigate these shots.
I would love to hear that. Like, I love hearing this about, like, me and Harvey. Like, just going to use him as an example. Like, me and Harvey, damn, you guys are always fighting people. And it's just like, I live in Severograd. We call it Iraq for a reason. It's literally like a constant war zone. Like, I don't even, people are like, what do you mean it's constant war zone? I said, stick around here long enough, you'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost say that about any part of the map at one point or another.
Yeah,
I mean, because it's like, people say that about the north, right? But then when I went and lived in Cherno, it was all relatively peaceful there for a little while. But then you realize that there was always violence, like, under the surface. In Cherno, it was just that there were enough people role-playing at the time that you really didn't see it. Once people started to spread out again, it was like violence, like, all the time. Whether it was crackheads or whatever, or people actually coming to cause trouble. And, I mean, it became a war zone all the time, too. And so I'm like, oh, well, this sucks. So, I moved someplace else. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll go over here. Nope, there's a war zone over there now. People are going to contest this town. Yeah. I'm like, well.
PUBG, Boomer?
I don't know what to do, man. What's that?
Like PUBG or something like that. Like, like the red zone. Like, it's just like the red zone. Like, that thing's just constantly moving. And you're like, oh, shot the dugout. Oh, good now. Oh, there's more. Like, it just moves. Like, it's like so free.
I don't know, man. I've only been to dugout 4 times. And 50% of the time, there was a gun, a shootout of some sort.
It just got coached yesterday. Was that?
It just happens. It happens.
It's just north. And, my last words were, there's another member of the dugout called Joey. My last words were, run, Joey, run! You're just at a well and you see people pointing guns at you. The first thing I screamed was, run, Joey, run! Just hear gunshots, It's just like, oh, not again. But at the same time, walk in the dugout.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you, that's the beautiful thing about community camps, Everybody, not everybody. A lot of people tend to think that there are safe zones and, and things like that. There's no place, first of all, that's safe. Not even in your own base. You'll get sniped through a window. You get sniped through that little sliver where you were like, well, my fence won't cover it completely, but if I duck all the time, it'll be all right. And you'll be ducked down and you'll just move, because if you ever notice and you're crouched down and you just tap W, you go up a little bit when you move forward. Somebody will snipe you. You will die. There is no safe place in this game. But the beautiful thing about community camps is that it brings people together that normally don't get to interact a lot of times.
Agree with that.
And sometimes that's going to be explosive, is all I'm trying to say. So it's like, that's why I'm saying, don't think community camps are going to be safe. We can meet on neutral ground. Everything's going to be cool. Because sometimes it's not. Anyway, but that's part of the excitement.
Funny fun laughing about that is, I know I'm not going to mention any names or clans here, but one of them was coming up to help the other one in like an RP situation. Like, oh, this could be great. And as I'm leaving with another faction, you just hear, they're over there. Boom, 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 boom. Like, I'm like, this is a war. This is a friendly neutral ground. And one of them screams, not anymore, it ain't.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm telling you, that's one of the things I like about watching combat footage of DayZ, even though I don't PvP very often. I mean, I don't want to give the impression, I think I do, that I don't like PvP, and that's not the case at all. I like PvP when it makes sense, and I like it in other games most of the time when it's, a squad-based, round-based, whatever. It's a PvP. It's obvious that's what you're doing. I'll organically roleplay in those games if you want, but I'm still going to hunt you down and shoot you. It's just different. I just want everybody to understand, PvP has its place. You got to have it. And I would enjoy it if I played any other character, most likely. So, I'm not like that opposed to it, but.
Well, that's the thing about my character.
Excuse me.
he knows my character knows he's an idiot. He knows it. He really knows it, and it's so funny because there are just points where it's like, "How did you know that? You're an idiot." I'm like, "Yeah, I have my moments."
That's funny.
God, but one
Well,
of the
it's funny because you can do things. You can do things that don't seem. I mean, your character, if he's really supposed to be stupid, that's one thing. But like, you can do things that people think are idiotic just because it's like out of character. You know, it's idiotic, but in character, you might not think so. Your character might not realize it, and so then we do things that are dangerous or dumb, and and it turns out, well, we were just playing our role. You know what I mean?
that he did the other day, like, it was so funny. I think I was in Ratna or somewhere like that, and I was just looting, and I just see this guy, and he had this Steve having a smart moment there. And I like to roll a dice. Usually, I've been doing that lately, like rolling a dice. Am I gonna be stupid or am I gonna be dumb? And it's more favorable the dumb side. And so it was. I got the
That's
smart roll.
kind of a fun tactic.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, this dude is so screwed. I made up a bluff saying, dude, don't try anything with me. I got like 6 guys that are like looking at you right now. Don't mess with me. And he's like, I wasn't going to. And you ever just have that moment like, oh my god, I regret this so much. And what was so funny was about it, he was not going to do anything. He wasn't going to try anything either. But what was so funny about it, I rolled at a dumb, smart moment. So that guy's probably like, I hate this guy from now on. If I ever see him, I'm going to shoot him. But it was just so funny. It's because it all relates back to navigating. I forgot where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so funny because if I knew where I was going, I probably would have ran into that guy. But he's so nice there.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish.
Well,
I hope I meet that guy again.
Like I said, I'm glad I know how to navigate, but I'll tell you, there are plenty of times when I didn't carry compasses around. I was like, dude, I could use those 2 extra inventory slots for like some other useless thing I'll grab. But when I do, like, if I know, like, I'm planning on just hanging out or whatever, I won't bring one out with me, of course. But if I know I'm going to be spending hours traveling, I will try to remember to bring one with me now, just to make it a little easier. Because it's a bummer, man. It's a bummer when you get out, and you know where you are. All of a sudden, the crap hits the fan, and then, I mean, here's an example. We were heading up to Severograd not too long ago, as you know. I think I've talked about this situation now that it's been past a couple of weeks. And we were traveling up there. I had some buddies, protecting me on the way up there and everything. And all of a sudden, here comes nightfall. No problem, All of a sudden, the advance team goes up, and then there's problems, and then there's shots fired, and you're like, oh crap. And it's like, man, and here's another example of organic roleplay, by the way. And the guy that was with me, that stuck back with me to try to keep me safe, was like, okay, so there's a situation. We need to get the hell out of here. So we took off, right? But I didn't know where I was, and I didn't have a compass, and, I had no clue where I was. Fortunately, he did. And so we finally got to where we were figuring out, because we both ended up getting lost. Then we both used our knowledge, because I wasn't using the map. We used our knowledge of things we had seen to help get each other back to where we needed to be. The point is that it was just funny because it was like we had a plan. We were going up there. I actually had planned to meet up with Black Cross people. I was like, well, let's go up and role play. I never come up and role play. People are there. Let's go. And so I started doing that, and then the next thing I know, we end up in a chance encounter that went wrong, mainly because it was dark. Nobody knew what the hell was going on as these things happen, which is also another great thing about not having the out of character chatting, because all of that would have been avoided in it would have all gone differently. But I wouldn't say that it would have all gone better, because we had this chance encounter that went wrong, and then that was exciting, and it derailed. Like I didn't make it up to Severograd that day, but I still had a really good time trying. You know what I mean? It was like fun.
I know we were trying. I was telling other Black Cross about it. I'm like, how do you have fun when your goal is to get somewhere and you didn't make it there? I'm like, that just seems like a lose situation.
It was, and it was also great that I wasn't completely by myself. So I had someone else to roleplay with all the way back. And we did. Yeah. We roleplayed like the whole way. And it was cool because we were getting lost. It was funny because we were coming out of the woods, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is that Novi Sobor? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh crap, we don't want to be here. It was just kind of because we were just playing it, it was our lives, and it was fun. That's just the way it is. And I had an idea we were headed that way, but when we came out and we saw, it was just like, we just got out of the frying pan into the fire, man. Let's go.
The first 2 places I recognized outside of Kamishova was Sobor's. And that was way before Regime's time. It wasn't even their time. Like, I joined before that was a thing, and most people don't know that about me. I just stayed in the shadows during that. What was so funny was I learned the Sabors. I learned it because there's two towns, and in the middle there's that no town place, and that's how I recognize the stupidest thing, but it works. Like, I recognize based off towns, like, I'm not just these. Oh, there's Sabors. There's a church and such over there. No,
Mm,
no, no. It's the two towns next to each other. There's no two towns that are very close like that,
yeah,
except the Sabors.
yeah,
And I always know if I stay on the right side, I'll eventually hit Gavazno, and then I can jump to Severo.
yeah. These are things you pick up just playing. I
And
mean, I
people are
said, I mean,
saying,
I could
"Oh, you
find my way from Candy Cane Tower down through Boar over to Cherno without a map most of the time because I did it a few times, you know, and so it's like I know those landmarks to look for. It's fantastic, and I love that the world. I thought about this last night. It's unfortunate because it could take 2 hours, you know, just to get somewhere to interact with somebody. But it's cool that there's so much space that you can do things with. You know, like it's not just you can't just run the whole map in like, you know, in an hour. It's you know, there's a lot to do, you know, and there are a lot of places to go, a lot of people to interact with. That 206 guy, by the way, if you he says he wants to hit up a community camp, you know, to attend a campfire at night or something, because that would be fun, right? And it is. A lot of that stuff, man, you just get lucky. You know, you just
oh,
happen to be at the right place at the right time with the right people. I mean, there was a time in Cherno before I had built the ovens down there and stuff that where it had started raining and there were some people hanging around and we were growing vegetables or whatnot. We decided to get in out of the rain and we ended up going into an apartment, starting a fire in the stove, and we were cooking food and we started playing Rock Sixers Paper and we were dancing and singing and all the way through the night. And it was just like maybe some, you know, some spontaneous party in real life, you know, and we had a good time. We were laughing, you know, and everybody was like, "Oh, don't say that in front of the Reverend," you know. And I mean, it was just, you know, role play. And then the next morning, it was like, "Oh, well, sunup's coming up. Well, we're gonna go off and do these things." Yeah, all right, man. Well, you know, we'll see you. And I don't know if I ever saw any of those people again. But it was just one of those right place, right time moments where the community camp thing just really flourished, you know. But
that's something too as well."
yeah,
There's
well,
so
even running a community camp, if you don't mind me saying real quick, I would still recommend places like the Dugout. I mean, there's almost always somebody at the Dugout, and if you catch me, you're in good shape. It's just that I'm not on, you know, I can't be on 24/7, you know, and when I can be on is very sporadic, and even if it wasn't, that's what I would say, you know, because I don't want people to know when I'm online or offline. More
yeah,
importantly, but it's true though. I mean, it's just you just gotta catch us at the right time. I mean, hell, man, I was playing one day, and all I was gonna do was farm a bunch of vegetables, and that's all I was gonna do. I was gonna fill up some tents, and then I was gonna leave. And then Deathbringer shows up with one of his characters, and we just start talking. And then the next thing I know, it's like 4 hours later, and we've been sitting around here farming and building and just talking in character this whole time, and it just blew my mind because I was like, "No, this was not what I intended." And then you know, we had this really great role play interaction. You know, people think it's just sitting around talking, and it's not.
oh,
That's not what role play is in the first place. But you know, and then when it is just sitting around talking and you don't even realize it, that's when you know you're in the zone. That's when
hmm
you're actually experiencing this other life in a way.
one of the things that I
It's really
love,
cool.
one of the things I love because I have ADHD, so I get distracted easily. And so what's so funny is there was this one time, and I've only had it one time, and it was the best feeling ever. We were walking down to Camp Kurgi from Dugout, and we were just in character a good bit of the way there. And you ever just had that moment where you're so immersed, you forget, oh my god, I'm playing a video game. That there's nothing better than that.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing better than that feeling, and oh my god, it's the best.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel the exact same way. I it happens sometimes. And it's not like, oh, you know, it's like, oh, I forget. You know, like, first of all, you know, I've got a standing desk and I raise it up and down depending on how I feel. And there are times, man, where it's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this all day, you know, and then it's like I'm sitting down, I'll raise it up for a few minutes, and then the next thing I know, it's been like 6 hours. And it's because I've been so engrossed in what we're doing and what's going on and the stories that's being told. And I'm just like, oh my God, you know, it's like I just don't even realize that all this time has passed. And I'm like, man, my feet are killing me. I wonder why. Oh yeah, because I've been standing here all night. I didn't even notice. I mean, it's crazy when that happens. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic.
One of the bad things about it, though, the only bad thing I have about gaming so much is I sleep in the same room as my computer. So at night, I always laugh about this, and how long I stay up because I can't sleep because it's so dang hot. Knows how much fun I had today playing video games.
That's
That's always
hilarious.
it's always how I judge it by how hot am I? Am I like taking off the shirt hot? Like am I
See,
I always judge that. People are like, what do you mean? I'm like play video games and you'll find out.
no, I get it, man. I'll tell you what, though, I'm glad that I don't sleep in the same room as my computer anymore because I used to get the crappiest sleep. I already still get kind of bad sleep because I do this too much. But yeah, seriously, man, I gotta go up 2 flights of stairs to go to my room now, and so when I shut everything down, I'm done. You know what I mean? But if I was sleeping in the same room, I might think of something and be like, oh, wait, never mind. I gotta go do this real quick. It's like I will like never shut it off, man. It would
I
get
know.
bad. It's
I
bad.
have those moments so bad, and it's like today I was supposed to get my transcript and everything, and I'm supposed to be transferring colleges in like the next year or so. So I want to get that ready, and it's like I've literally done none of that today because I've been doing other things, but it's so funny now that I'm doing it. I'm like playing video games. Like I don't want to do that. Like I want to sit here and play video games. Like I
Seriously.
really wish like I could make a living off doing this because it would be the best thing ever. Like I would
Well,
love to play video games for a living.
I'll tell you. I'm gonna have to actually wind this down here real quick, but just a minute. But I will tell you that I feel the same way. Obviously, I would love to be a full-time streamer and everything else. But I guess could I have like a perspective of an older gentleman, older person anyway? I don't know if I'm a gentleman, but back in the day, I mentioned this before other times. I mention it all the time actually that people used to want to be rock stars or people used to want to be athletes, or whatever it is. There's always this super high glorious thing we'd all love to do, and a lot of people just don't get to do it, partially because so many people want to do it, and if everybody could do it, then it wouldn't be special and it wouldn't be something everybody would aspire to do anymore in this regard. So it's kind of like, yeah, man, I would love to be able to do this. I'll tell you right now, I never even thought that you could make money doing anything with video games when I was a kid, back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. It was like it was unheard of. So just seeing people making money, playing games, well, I mean, it was like quality control was like the best you could hope for if you just wanted to play it. Even those people were often programmers and stuff, and had like technical skills and all that. So, hats off to the people that can make a living with video games. I'll tell you right now, the streaming though is not just playing video games.
Oh, you got to be entertaining your audience. You got to interact.
Oh
with
my
them.
God, it's so much work.
Yeah, that's why I love to do this, but I'm becoming a meteorologist. That's what I am head set on.
That's
And
a
what's
pretty cool job.
everyone
That's a cool
everyone
job.
I know a friend that just got into streaming. Like I love telling him. I tell him, dude, you can't do this. I love you to death, but you can't do this. And he's like, why not? I'm like, you don't read your chat. Like I sent a message like an hour ago, and you're just now reading it. Like there's
Yeah.
a problem with that. And he's like,
And
what's the problem with that? Like by the time you read my message, I'm gonna be like 2 years older.
there you go. And that is a problem because this game's not even going to exist.
I know.
Whatever it
That's
is,
what I love
whatever it
about
is. That's funny.
you're always on top of it, and that's like one of the good things about it. Like there's so many people that just can't do
Thanks.
it.
I
I
try.
love you to death,
It's
but you
hard for
can't do
me.
it.
It's hard for me when I'm role playing, right? When I'm in the middle of role playing, it's hard for me to keep up with you because I'm in the scene, and I'm trying to concentrate and give the people I'm role playing with all of my attention. But I do try to go back, afterwards and try to read comments and
Well,
and stuff like that.
you have an excuse,
It's
but
hard.
remember we play PUBG games. Those things
Yeah,
last at the
see.
most like 20 minutes,
Yeah,
and he's
see,
like, it takes him still like forever to
that's
read it. I'm
different.
like,
That's
you gotta
different.
work on that.
Man, there are times when I'd be playing Dead by Daylight, especially if I'm dominating a map. But I'll stop. I'll be like, dude, I don't even care about this game. Let's chat. Let's chat. And I'll just say to read chat, and we'll just talk. And I'll be like, oh, here, let me go do some of this. Okay, and then I'll just be like, yeah, let's just chat some more. I mean, it's just whatever. It's fun. Hey, what's up, Corey? Oh man, we're running a little over today. We're just chatting right now, Corey. So we get to say hi to you at least. At least I can say hi to you. Oh man,
One
but
thing
I
I've
think we had a
always wanted to start,
good show today.
Boomer.
What's that?
Like I guess I could say this now. what would you think of running? I have a character. I have Asperger's and I have ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to raise awareness for that because it may have just shown as you were streaming. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so funny about it is people are like, God, why is this guy so weird? Why does he always want to be just entertained? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. But I want to start a character. I want to know what you think and maybe everybody else in chat if they want to contribute. I'm really going to ask a lot of people that have been role playing for a long time their opinion on this. I want to do a character that's based off that, but really just raises awareness for I guess I could say, for the hell I've been living through for the past almost 22 years now. What would you think about like that?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, obviously, it just depends, because we explore all these different subjects and different degrees of subject matter, and most people approach things, in a very mature level and approach things very thoughtfully and that sort of thing. And given as how it's a circumstance that you are experiencing, I think that you would do that very well. It's kind of like whether, I mean, I trust me, I am not going to talk you out of it in the slightest. I think it's a great idea. Where it becomes tricky is, people who are role playing with you are not going to know, are most likely. People who know you or get the time to know your character will. But then again, it's also like in real life, when we run into people who behave differently than we expect, and sometimes we'll make assumptions about them, and that sort of thing, instead of either ignoring it, which is what most people should do, or asking someone, which is kind of the next best thing. We'll make assumptions and all that. So as long as you have to prepare yourself for that sort of thing, and especially because you want to go at something and try to essentially prove a point or bring awareness to something or whatever it is that you're doing. And I would just recommend you to prepare yourself for the people that aren't going to get it. Is basically all it is. Because I think the people that will get it, or the people who take the time, or if you write about it or whatever, will get it. I think it'll go over really, really well. I mean, there are people that play all kinds of people that are not considered normal. You know what I mean? Obviously,
the ones that come to mind is K.
Yeah,
I fucking love K. K was the best. Like, I miss that dude so much. I would love for him to come back.
I've heard a lot, and actually, I think isn't K back? I don't know K. But I thought in Discord maybe, but I could be wrong. There's a lot of people that have come back recently, and a lot of names that are floating around.
Old people like some of the really good role players. Like, I don't know anything about their drama. I don't know why they left, but like K, Red Star, like all those people, they just seem like
that's why
they knew what they were doing.
That's why, because I've got tons of cassettes by these people. That's the reason why. These names are familiar to me. Yeah, because I love this stuff. I collect all this stuff. I'll actually sit there if I log in, right, and I'm just like hanging out, and I'm being a baser. I'm just doing whatever, and I'm sorting my crap, especially if I'm sorting my crap or going through inventory and things like that. I'll throw in a cassette and I'll listen to it because I love that stuff, man. Especially the talking cassettes and things from lore. So yeah, I try to collect all that crap. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I do too. They're so good. It's just, oh my god, they're like, somebody took the time to actually think that out. Like, I don't know if you know, did you ever watch that video of my brain surgery or my character's brain surgery?
Yes, by the way, it's phenomenal.
And like, you just got to think about it. Like, I don't know if I told you this. It was all impromptu.
Yeah,
they only thought about like the technical terms. I'm like, they do stuff like that, and it's just amazing. Like, it's just amazing how they can do all that. Like I know one of the good ones that I really like is Red Star's Time. Time Part 1 and Time Part 2 are really good. And it's just like, how long did it take you to do that? And oh my god, it's amazing.
It is. Well, that's why I try to tell people sometimes, man, at least for me, sometimes I just birth things. They just come out, and then other times it's a real struggle. Sometimes it takes hours and days and weeks to work on things for me. But that's just me. Other people, man, are just gifted. And, some people just make it happen. I don't know.
I know. And I guess I'll leave you this because you said you got to go.
Yeah.
There was one thing that we were doing like, right after the surgery that wasn't in the video. And it's just like, there's really good moments, There's okay moments, and then there's Steve moments. That's my character.
Yeah.
He's Audie has something, and I remember I just said this. Look, man, there are two types of people in this world. There are doers, and then there's don'ters.
That's great, dude. That's great.
And you'll just hear Audie or me say, "Don't be a don'ter. Don't be a don'ter." It's just like, God, I wish I never said that.
I'm telling. If you guys haven't seen, I mean, I got to find a way to let certain people do links in here or whatever.
I can help you with that, by the way. If you get Nightbot, you just got to do exclamation point permit.
I should make more. Should make more what, Dr. Desync? I don't know.
I think he was talking about the cassette tapes. I mean, I
Oh,
love
that may be what he was talking about, the cassette tapes. It's funny, man. I did mention that it would be cool if that sermon was on a cassette, but I was really surprised that it was chosen, and I don't know why. I guess now I mean, because I've had confidence problems my whole life, and whenever I push through, I almost always shine and excel in everything, but it's like getting to that point is hard. It was rough. Like when I had first decided to do the character that I was doing and the role playing and all the initial stuff that I did, like the character introduction and all that, was kind of scary to put out there. It really was. And so I'm very, very grateful to this community for being so welcoming, because it's all that stuff has inspired me to do more. I memean, that's why we have the gaming workshop. And I know that it has the same effect on other people as well. I mean, earlier we were talking about people who are like, oh, I haven't written, this has really inspired me to write. Well, I mean, imagine if the community was crap, that never would have happened. You know what I mean? So I
don't think this community would have been as long as live as it is if it wasn't crap, though.
Yeah, that's true too. Well, yes and no. I mean, there are pretty toxic things that that last. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
even people feel bad about it. They still do it. You know what I mean? It's just whatever. But I am very grateful for this community. I'm very grateful for how opening and accepting that we all are, and how we come together and build each other up.
I love this community
most of the time.
so
It's
much.
fantastic.
If I could pay everyone in this community, I would, because like when I started Doug, my grandfather died of cancer.
Oh man.
Then my dog died. Then my best friend died. And I could tell you, if it weren't for this community, I don't know if I could certainly say I don't think I'd be here today. Like I love this community so much because everyone was checking in on me. And like I was told maybe 2 people, and next thing you know, half the community knows. I'm like, oh my god. Like I don't know if I honestly don't. If you know what I'm saying, I don't think I'd be here today. I don't want to say because it's Twitch, but I honestly don't think I'd be here today if it weren't for the community. They just kept checking on me and made sure I was getting through it. And some people are like, oh my god, stop talking about it, makes it worse.
Yeah,
How they approached it in a way it didn't make it worse. It just made it better. There were points where I wasn't crying because I missed him. There were points where I was crying because of how thankful how grateful and how nice this community was.
That's wonderful to hear, man. I really like to hear that. I mean, and that's what makes Doug so special, is the community. I mean, there's always this is what makes Doug so special. But every single one of those things all boils down to the people in the community and the fact that we are a community. And that's proof right there that it's a community, because, you don't do that for people you don't care about.
I wouldn't even say it's a community. I think that's insulting. I'd say it's a family here.
The family, yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. People, yeah. I mean, I would agree with that too. I look at it that way. I've used that example plenty of times because families argue and fight and come together and, get through it. And that's what we do. That's what we do on Doug,
It's a family. Like I like those people that like those people out of character, like, oh, I love these people, but in character they hate each other's guts.
That's a great way to look at it, Dr. DC.
That's just amazing. It's just how a community like you think like there are some people in such I don't want to be wrong here, so I'm not saying any names.
Yeah, fair enough.
But there are some people like in character like I'd shoot these people any day, but in out of character they're like best friends, and I'm wow. That's such a family right there, because that's just like family,
that's what it's about. You have to be that way. We would never get along. We would never be able to get along. Oh my god, man, it would be horrible if everything was taken out of character and we were all mad at each other all the time, man. It would never.
Like,
It would never.
I guess like example because I remember this. I wasn't in dugout at the time. I'm not in dugout anymore. I haven't been in dugout for a couple of months, so I don't want anyone thinking that I am. I remember one time dugout attacked regime, and afterwards, it was just like, they came and told us how fun it was and everything. And I'm like, if this was like a community, like, I hope those guys hate me, kind of thing. They were like, I hope you enjoyed that. Like, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it is so fun to have those people just come talk about it afterwards. It's just like, God, we almost got you. We'll get you next time. It's like friendly trash talking, but like in a way, like we love you at the end of the day. It's
that's
just
what
like,
it's all about, though.
You got to those.
We got too many people that play antagonists and protagonists to each other. It's like, man, if we could, I mean, look, man, even the last time, I won't get into the details because we know about it anyway, but the last time I got mowed down by somebody and I knew who it was, I even commented to him later. It was like, dude, that was fantastic. Like the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was all positive energy, man, because it's, it really was too. It really worked out well, but just overall, I mean, it's part of the game, and that's why I say it's like the difference between like KOS with context and then like random KOS. This wasn't even really KOS, but what I'm saying, it's just like there's that difference. If I have context to it and I understand, it's easier to deal with than if it's just random, because to me then it has more meaning, whatever. But we are way over time, and I'm glad that you were able to hop on, Will, because I know you were like really dying to get on.
Yeah, I would love to do this. Like, we should just take a day. I would love to just take a day. You and me could probably ping pong off each other for the entire day.
There you go. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll just come up with a topic for you, and we'll hop in and we'll do it. I mean, why not? But yeah, in that line, let me wind it down a little bit. Next week, we're going to have the entire modding team, man. That's Ammo. It's Diesel. It is Dr. Desync. These guys are going to be on to talk to us about modding, just in general, DayZ modding, Doug modding. Bring all of your questions. Send them to me if you can, just because, I mean, it'll be easier than to tell you, no, they can't tell you how many of X items can spawn. No, they can't tell you that. That's why I say they'll discuss anything but the numbers. And that's just saying that they're not going to say the things that they normally wouldn't say, but you have a chance to actually find out some of the reasons behind decisions, things like that. These things I love to hear about anyway, but I'm really looking forward to having these guys on, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be awesome next week. It really is.
I'll be here next week. I did not know that was a topic. That's going to be
awesome.
Dude.
Yeah, they're coming, dude. And hopefully other people find out, I mean, everybody's going to be here anyway, but I mean, this is the cool place to be. But I'm just saying, come and hang out with these guys, because it's going to be fantastic. There are so many things that I'm curious about just in general. But I always like that. I used to like to take things apart, figure out how they work, then throw them away when I couldn't put them back together. At least this way I don't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can just ask. That's it. Yeah, Black Press Fest, 2 hours on that. That's it. All right. Next week. All right. But in the meantime, guys, thank you so much for coming and supporting the show, supporting Doug, supporting all of this, and everyone else who creates content and does anything fun for the server. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, which you're not right now because we're live, but when we're not live and you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything on YouTube, and it gives me so much. Every time I see that, I want to go out and buy a puppy or something, but I won't. I was just trying to think of something positive, but I'll smile. Everybody wants that. I don't even have like a weird creepy smile. Like unnatural smile.
Every time somebody subs, like a puppy smiles at you.
That's it, man. That's it. The kitty purrs. That's it. No, anyway. Sorry, guys. This is like by 4:30, man. It's such a train wreck. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I'm gonna send you guys over to well, looks like Deathbringer. Why not, man? Because he's learned to be on live when I get off of this, so I have someone to send it to. But yeah, I'm gonna send you guys over to Deathbringer here in just a moment. I hope that you guys had a wonderful show. I hope that you have a great week. And again, if you ever, you know, if you need to get a hold of me for anything or need some help or any advice or anything like that, hop into the Discord. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week, Tuesday, 2 p.m. Later.